EAGLES, Eagles.
Hey, what's up? What is up, everybody? It is Tuesday. We are Sports Take, JAKIB Sports YouTube Network, and that's Derek Gunn. I am Rob Ellis. Gunner, what's up, my man? How we doing?
What's going on, my hoodie, brother?
Oh, man, all good, all good. What's up, Twiz? What's up, Jim G?
What's that hoodie, man? What's on the front of that hoodie?
This is I'm representing
your daughter.
South Carolina. Yes.
Nice.
Nice and comfortable, man. Nice and comfortable.
So let me ask you this. So if South Carolina plays Temple, who are you rooting for? You got
Temple.
a daughter in South Carolina.
Temple.
Your alma mater is Temple. Who are you rooting for?
Temple, because my son's a senior at Temple. I went to Temple.
Okay.
2 outweighs 1. Now,
here's the problem, though.
Yeah.
You hesitated when you answered.
I had to think about it for a minute. Yeah. I did have to think about it. But next year when he's graduated, we'll see. It'll be 50-50. Not that they're going to ever play each other. But anyway, yes, there is a slight chance if there's some miracle happens at some point. What's up, Anthony? What is up, Philly Rob? What is up? I did think about it too long, Anthony. You're right. What's up, Jalen? What's up, Dablon boy? Jalen, so dope king, Dank, Philly 559, John Dickerson, JM. What's up, guys? Hope you're doing well out there. Boy, weird night last night, Derek.
Oh my goodness.
We're all cranked up for the game. Everybody's excited. Jets, Bills, the hype. I thought they did an awesome job pregame. Props to MetLife Stadium with the way they honored 9/11. Everything was just so well done.
Rodgers comes out of the tunnel with the flag.
I mean,
it's like you're just jacked up.
Yeah, jacked up. And literally their first series of the game, 3 plays in, boom, it happens. And he goes down. Initially, you're like, I don't know. It didn't really seem like much. I didn't
because I've seen him fall like that and get hurt like that many times before.
Yeah, right. Oh, a million times. So you're thinking, all right, maybe he just kind of landed weird. He's 39 years old. It's going to take him a second. And then when he sat back down, it was like, ooh, here we go. And then he clearly needed help getting off. And then you're coming back from the commercial break and you're getting reports that he's being carted to the locker room. Whenever the card comes out, you go, unless it's like obviously it's not good if it's a head injury either, but when you're talking about a lower extremity injury, it's a really bad thing. So, man, they come out and you're saying to yourself, this can't be. And then you hear, well, the initial report is the x-rays are negative, and then everybody started speculating it was an Achilles, and it turns out it is official. He tore his Achilles. He's done for the season. And look, I have no love for the Jets. In fact, I got tired of Aaron Rodgers, but I thought he really kind of made a nice comeback here in the public specter. This sucks if you're a football fan. It just does.
Not just a football fan, but let's broaden this a little bit. The city of New York was jacked up because for the first time in a long time, they had 2 teams coming into the new season with a lot to beat their chest about.
Yeah.
The Giants were coming off a playoff appearance for the first time in years. And the Jets, since they finalized this trade for Aaron Rodgers, have been beating their chest. And Jets fans have been walking pridefully up and down the streets of New York. Week 1 comes and goes. The Giants are the only team in week 1 that scores no points, gets embarrassed on national TV, and the Jets get sucker punched in the gut the next night on national TV, losing a future Hall of Fame quarterback. I got mad respect for the city of New York right now, man. I feel for the city of New York right now.
I do too. I feel bad. You know how it is. Like we lived through it here in Philadelphia I'm going back a long way, so I know there are people that won't remember, but Randall got hurt on the very first game of the season in Green Bay. You remember the game, Gunner?
Yes.
In 1991, Bryce Popp hit him. Boom, he was done for the year.
Done.
And it was like, as good as the Eagles defense was, and this Jets defense is phenomenal too, but it was like everything got just a pin in the balloon, man. And you're like, really? This soon? You can't even get a taste of what this was going to look like? Oh, man. It's a tough game.
I mean, the first week of the NFL has taken its toll on a lot of teams at key positions. I mean, you look at what happened with J.K. Dobbins, Jack Conklin, so on and so forth, the names across the board, players in concussion protocol, ACL sprains, ACL tears, rib injuries. Look at the Eagles. They got several players with rib injuries, and I just tweeted out that from what I'm being told, Fletcher Cox should be good to go Thursday night. Kenneth Gainwell is a wait-and-see issue. No update yet on Blankenship. So Blankenship has the ribs also, right?
Yes. So the ribs are Fletcher, Gainwell, Blankenship, Bradbury in concussion protocol, and Dean out with the foot.
See, so it is taking a toll across the board in the National Football League. And did you see now, this is interesting, and this has created some fire as well. Tone, I sent you guys that tweet from David Bakhtiari, one of Rodgers' best friends in the NFL.
Yep.
And he tweeted out, Tone, I don't know if you can get it up real quick. I don't want to give it away if Tone can give it up. I'll let Rob read it.
If you want me to read it, let me know, but I won't give it away.
Okay, no, if you want to go ahead and read it, you know what, Tone, that's fine. That's fine also.
All right, whatever's easiest. Whatever works.
But you know, they're blaming it. You know, players want to blame it on turf.
I have it if you want.
Okay.
So he says, congratulations at NFL. How many more players have to get hurt on artificial turf, all in caps? You care more about soccer players than us. You plan to remove all artificial turf for the World Cup coming up, so it's clearly feasible. I'm sick of this. Do better. I don't like that stuff either, Derek. I don't know that it's the long-term effects of it are healthy with those pellets and all the other stuff that go on that we're breathing it. I say I mean the players. My kids played on that kind of stuff in high school when they weren't playing on, grass fields as well. And it's troubling, man. It is. And that field especially has a history and is notorious for there being a lot of injuries like that. That's a problem, man. It is. It's a problem. And I'm not saying it couldn't have happened under any other circumstance or whatever the case may be, but you just hate it, man. You hate it for Rodgers. You hate it for the game. Yeah. You hate it for the Jets. And it turned out they showed a lot of guts last night because a lot of teams would have folded tent after Rodgers went down.
Yeah, they would have. A lot of players have been screaming about this fake turf for decades, but a few people put out an interesting point to counterpoint, and it's just generic fans, not experts, saying basically, wait a minute, Dobbins and Conklin both got hurt on natural grass.
Right.
So the studies have shown that while turf does increase the possibility of you getting hurt more seriously in general, natural grass, you don't avoid injuries playing on natural grass either.
Yeah, so see with Anthony,
they retweeted data to provide that shows that non-contact injuries occur more on turf than grass.
Yeah, I mean, look, that's the thing. I'm when you have a sport like football, unfortunately, it's anything. We see it in the NBA. Guy makes a cut, his ACL goes right. You see it in all sports where there is non-contact injury. Reese Hoskins this year for the Phillies was a non-contact tore his ACL on natural grass. Not saying it doesn't happen, but it seems like there is more of a proclivity for it to happen on that turf, specifically at that place, than it does other places. But I haven't done a full-blown study on it either.
The biggest problem is turf has no give. The human body was not made to move as fast as it does in football games, period. Stop on a dime, redirect yourself.
Right.
And pirouette in a lot of cases and it's like a collision course waiting to happen with the body. The turf has no give. Even when they put those pellets in on the turf, they say that helps give you more of a give. No, not really. No, it doesn't. Not really it doesn't. Unless the surface is wet. When you're playing on a dry surface like that, no, it doesn't. You're asking a body, 200, 300-pound men, run full speed in various directions, stop, pirouette. The body was not made to do that. And we're seeing an increase. These players are getting bigger, faster, more muscular. Look at some of the offensive linemen now, how muscular they were. Usually, back in the day, offensive linemen were just like big guys. They weren't built. These guys, offensive and defensive linemen nowadays, are jacked up, just like position players. Skill position players. So your muscles were not made to take that sudden impact. Boom. And it happens all the time. That's why that's a big reason why you see more frequent injuries like the ACLs,
no doubt.
The quad injury, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
I don't know what the solution is, because both are a problem, even more so than back in the day in the 70s and 80s. Well, those guys back in the 70s and 80s weren't as fast across the board. Look at the modern era player, Rob. You got 300+ pound guys running 4.6 40s now.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, imagine that kind of weight moving full speed, stop, and redirect. Something's got to give.
It does. It does. And unfortunately, you wonder, 39 years old, is he going to be able to come back from this? The whole nine. But to the game itself, and obviously here's what we're going to hear, by the way, with Rodgers being out. You're going to hear Tom Brady. You're going to hear Carson Wentz, because there's a history with Carson Wentz and Joe Douglas. You're going to just get ready. There's some of the names. I think Matt Ryan would be a smart play for them, actually.
I think if Matt Ryan is the quarterback if he could get himself back to the quarterback he was 2 years ago, I think Matt Ryan would be the perfect addition to that Jets, because I'm going to tell you something. That Jets defense I saw last night, that Jets defense that was a top 5 defense last year, that defense is just as nasty as the 49ers defense.
They're really good.
They're nasty.
Across the board, there isn't a weakness. Their linebackers are nasty. Their safeties and corners are good. Their defensive line is phenomenal. They're going to have to win. They're going to have to take the ball away like they did last night to win games.
Yes.
And I think the Jets will open it up a little bit more. In fairness, the offense they're running is geared towards Rodgers' skill sets. Now Nathaniel Hackett is going to have to gear it towards Zach Wilson's skill sets. And at some point, you're going to have to trust him to let it rip down the field. It was a lot of, smartly, I don't blame them for this, handoffs, short yardage kind of thing. By the way, one of the best catches you will ever see in your life by Garrett Wilson on that touchdown. Insane level of difficulty on that.
Now you know why he was that Rookie of the Year last year, that Offensive Rookie of the Year. That dude's insane. Now his numbers are going to suffer, unfortunately, because we don't know who's quarterbacking. Zach Wilson, I'll give him credit, came in an emergency. He made one glaring mistake, threw one ball down the middle that was picked. He shouldn't have thrown. Outside of that, Zach Wilson played okay. He didn't cost them the game.
No, he didn't. I give him like a lot of guys would have panicked and would have. He did have the one bad throw, but I thought other than that, he did a pretty decent job of just keeping his team in the game. Now the defense won the game. The defense won the game, but he did a good enough job of just doing his thing. And again, I thought he was composed in a situation where maybe last year he isn't composed. So maybe he grew a little bit. And we do a lot of joking about him on the show. I'll give him some credit. I thought he came in there and hung in there.
He was 14 of 21. That's all you can ask.
Yeah, it wasn't bad. And let's go to the flip side of that, Derek. Josh Allen is in full-blown hero mode every time he drops back. Not only with awful decision-making with turnovers, he's going to get himself killed. I can't. If one more person says to me he's 6'4", 240, I don't care how big he is. He keeps challenging these dudes. It's going to be over. He won't finish the year.
I've told you guys so many times, I said the thing I don't like about his game is I've seen him too many times run down the middle of the field, and instead of sliding to preserve his body, he will lower a shoulder and engage a would-be tackler. Now, you're talking about, and let me tell you something, defensive players don't like quarterbacks as it is because they feel the league protects them too much. Mm-hmm. So since the rule states that once he advances the ball, he is a ball carrier and you can hit him, there are dudes looking to take shots on somebody like a Josh Allen. I mean, just quarterbacks in general. But if a quarterback is going to try to come up and challenge you and a defensive player knows this, A defensive player is not going to want a quarterback to embarrass him on TV. He's going to take his best shot.
Well, even last night, like at one point, he jumps in the air and then gets spiked down to the turf. Like, dude, just go down. Like Aikman was saying it, just go down. And, I know Sean McDermott at one point, and I wish, sometimes the broadcast, I think, are afraid to get into things too much or read into too much or whatever. Like Sean McDermott's going like this to him. Yeah. Like he wasn't even hiding it. Like, dude, you got to be smarter. I'm telling you, Derek, no way he finishes the year unless he wises up. But beyond that, 3 picks and a fumble, he's regressing. He's going the wrong way. He'll make spectacular plays like the touchdown. What was it, to Diggs or whatever? It was a great play. But he mixes one spectacular in with like 3 awful. It feels like with him now.
What did he tell the general consensus during the offseason? I've diligently studied my flaws from last year. I will be a much more improved quarterback this year. He comes out of the gate and threw 3 horrible picks. Mm-hmm. I mean, seriously, you're right. He's trying to play that hero ball again, and he doesn't have to because he has the talent around him. Offensive line, wide receivers, running back. He has the talent around him. He's a liability right now. I mean, I know it's the first game. They'll work things out. But last night, he was the biggest liability of Buffalo. No question about that.
Yeah, I agree with you. And you allowed, what they did was they allowed the Jets to hang around, and they hung around, and and the game ends in historical fashion, Derek, in overtime, punt return. It's only happened 3 times in the history of the NFL, which is pretty remarkable, when you think about it. And people may say, well, Deshaun's one of them. No, Deshaun was regulation. You remember that 2010 game against the Giants? The one that he took to the house was regulation, not overtime. So anyway, I give the Jets credit because most teams, when they have that enormity of an injury, and let's face it, they all knew he wasn't coming back and he was probably done. They didn't fall apart. And it makes me question what the Bills are all about too. And I know that was a good defense, but I really do question it.
Yeah. And like I said, I know it's week 1 and we're not going to overanalyze everything because we know everything across the board was sloppy in week number 1. But the Buffalo Bills defense is not as good as when Von Miller is on that field.
Yep.
He is a game changer coming off that edge. It changes the whole complexion of their scheme because the offensive line has a slide to double him up or have somebody chip him on that side. I hate to stir the pot, but you mentioned the 65-yard punt return. And then once that kid planted his foot, Xavier Gibson, and changed direction, I'm sitting there with my wife, and I said, he's taking us to the house. She goes, how do you know this? I said, watch. You see the entire Buffalo Bills coverage team flow this way. Right. He stuck his foot in the ground, went one way, and went back the other way. Now, the refs did miss the tripping call on that key block down the sideline. They
did. You're right.
And I'm thinking twofolds. Number one, can you imagine if the Eagles had a punt returner like that? And number two, when that house erupted the way it did, it took me back to that AFC championship game, to the AFC playoff game between the Steelers and the Raiders on the Immaculate Reception.
Yep.
And one of the multiple stories that came out of that game through the years is it took the refs forever to make a decision. They huddled up, they talked about it. And some noted people in Pittsburgh said that the refs asked the police, if we change this call, will you get us out of here?
Yes.
And the police said no. And they said touchdown. Got the heck out of Dodge.
Well, they were in the dugout. It was the multi-purpose stadiums.
Yes.
So they're in the dugout and they're like, do we have a way to get out of here? And they're like, not really. Okay. No. It stands. John Madden's like, what?
Could you imagine if the refs had reversed that call?
Oh, dude.
Because you clearly see on the replay, there's a ref standing right out of bounds as Gibson's coming down the sideline, has a clear view of the blocker who makes the key block, rolls, and throws his leg up. But there's no tripping call. And the announcers on the game last night, they make note of it, and still there's no call on this thing. I'm thinking, these refs want to get out of Dodge the way they came in.
It was unbelievable. Well, the other thing is that kid's a great story. The Gibson kid.
Oh.
So I didn't see, I guess he was, I guess I missed that one, but he was featured on Hard Knocks.
Yes.
And he was like a last cut kind of guy. Like he was a survival kind of guy. And he ends up not only making the team, but dressing and being your punt returner and fitting on such a wacky night that he ends up being, the guy who was the hero.
The funny thing is, you go to that Hard Knocks episode, they call him in the office, and it's Joe Douglas and Robert Saleh. So he sits down, and Joe Douglas starts by saying, hey, how do you feel about your camp? I feel I did pretty good. And he goes, you've done some great things. And you know how difficult it is to make this team as a receiver because of all the receivers. And the kid's going, yeah, I know. He said, but I just want you to know you're a New York Jet. And I'm not even related to the kid. I don't even know the kid, but I was like, yes. Yeah. I got a chill just watching that, man, because it looks like they were setting up to tell him to break his heart that you just didn't have what it takes, kid. And you see the grin on this young man's face, man. And it's like the greatest underdog story ever.
Right.
I don't even know if he was drafted or was he a low draft pick?
I think he was undrafted too.
He was an undrafted player.
Yeah.
Makes the roster and has the defining play on Monday Night Football, the first game of the season.
It's pretty awesome. It's pretty awesome, man. And that's, look, you know what it is? It gives you both ends of the spectrum. Like it's so devastating. You feel so bad for Jets fans and football fans.
Yes.
With Rodgers, right, on one end of it. And then the other end of it is this kid making the most out of a shot, out of an opportunity.
Oh my goodness.
And he ends up taking it to the house. It really is. It's like full circle, man. It's like, it's why we watch this stuff. It's why it's better than any of the reality shows that there are. People ask you all the time, what do you love about sports? Well, it's because it's so unpredictable. It really is. There are so many things that you're going to see during the course of a game or a season or whatever that you're like, either you haven't seen before or you're like, damn, that's cool. And I know neither one of us care about the Jets, but if you love sports, you love the moment that what happened last night.
It's sports is so unscripted, unscripted. You can't, people talk about sports is rigged. You can't predict a grand slam home run walk-off to win a game. A corner shot. Look at Kawhi Leonard making a corner shot against the 76ers that bounces around the rim 3 times before it goes in the game. Mm-hmm. You can't script this kind of stuff. Yeah. The punt return of Kadarius Toney in the Super Bowl against the Eagles. Xavier Gibson last night. The immaculate reception. A miracle in the Meadowlands. So, miracle in Tennessee Stadium. Yeah. You can't, it's like when you have so much even, especially when the competition is even, man, it's like you want your team to win if you're emotionally invested, but it's the unexpected unknown elements of what's going to happen.
Yeah.
We sit and we analyze things inside and out. All of us do across the country. And there's always an unwritten script that you don't even account for that just heightens, what we get to see at that particular moment.
Well, yeah, what you also wonder is too, and I know, look, it's first game versus, I think it was like the 13th game, but how does a team respond? The Eagles in 2017 responded to the point where they ended up winning a Super Bowl. Yes. How do the Jets respond? Are they going to fold? Is that defense going to look at it and say, we got to put it on our back, boys, every single week and get this team to the finish line? I don't know, man. Now all of a sudden the AFC East, with the Bills losing, and they there's something about the Bills, man, that just is off. Tua goes crazy, but you wonder if Tua can stay healthy. Rodgers out now. Jeez. New England looks mediocre. It's like, man, that you're looking at that division a lot different than we looked at it just a week ago.
Just based on week 1, if Tua stays healthy, that division is Miami's to win or lose now. Plain and simple. If Tua stays healthy, Miami to me is the front runner in that division. You don't have a person on the planet that can cover Tyreek Hill.
Oh God.
And the man only completed 28 passes for 466 yards. Mm-hmm. And if Jalen Waddle, and that's a big if. That's a big if for any team. But if they keep that personnel healthy, who can stop that Dolphins offense?
No, if he stays healthy, they can't.
I can't wait to see the Jets play that Jets defense play that Dolphins offense.
Yeah.
That's the game I would love to see.
I'm with you. All right, so here's what we have today with Adam Kaplan, who I can't wait to talk to. Inside Birds is going to be joining us at 1:00, and we'll go through the Eagles. We'll go through the Vikings. We'll hit them with all the big things around the NFL, including Aaron Rodgers. But when we come back, let's dig into the Eagles and what we saw on Sunday, Derek. The offense and the defense, what needs to improve. We'll pass along what's going on injury-wise with the Eagles. Quick turnaround here because they're playing on Thursday. So no rest for the weary here, as they say. That's for sure. So let's get a quickie in. We'll come back. We will set our sights on the birds when we come back. Don't go anywhere. That's Derek Gunn. I am Rob Ellis. We are Sports Take, JAKIB Sports YouTube Network. Let's talk about Bravo Pizza of Havertown. First of all, kudos to Bravo Pizza, man, for all the great work they did in conjunction with Team Foster yesterday. 12% of their proceeds, both at Bravo Pizza of Havertown and Oxford yesterday, went to Team Foster, which provides service dogs for our military men and women. And it's just absolutely awesome what they did yesterday. So kudos to everybody there at Bravo. I've been going there since I was a kid. So Alex and the crew have owned Bravo Pizza since 1985. They just have unbelievable food and great service. They have 20 different styles of pizza. They have slices to go. I love the grandma pizza, which is the upside down. They have specialized pizza any way you want it. They will make it, but it's not just pizza. It's fresh pasta, sandwiches, wraps, wings, and salads. Mention how committed they are to the community, whether it's Team Foster, whether it's schools, whether it's Little Leagues, where the proceeds go to those organizations. You could follow them on Instagram and Facebook at the Bravo Pizza of, for daily specials and promotions. They're at 1305 Westchester Pike, Manoa Shopping Center in Havertown, 1305 Westchester Pike, Manoa Shopping Center, Havertown. Give them a call, 610-446-3810, 610-446-3810. Bravo Pizza of Havertown.
I remember getting my heart broken when they lost the Super Bowl in 2004. We're big Eagles fans. We moved to South Philly because of the Eagles. When they won, we went straight to Broad Street, and everybody was going nuts over there, and it was just a memory that you'll never forget.
Go passionately. Go fearlessly. Go confidently.
Go Birds!
Go confidently towards your goals with First Trust, Philly's hometown bank for nearly 90 years, and the official bank of the Philadelphia Eagles. We're focused on getting you over the goal line. So go with conviction. Go with trust.
Go Birds!
And go forward with us by your side. First Trust Bank, the official bank of Philadelphia dreams. Oh, and go Birds.
The greatest fans on earth. It's a bold statement, but would you expect anything less from Philadelphia? 58 years of heartache creates a toughness, a grit, a resolve not found in most. Sure, our prayers were answered, but now that we've had a taste, we're looking for more. Pondley Hockey, official partner of the Philadelphia Eagles.
Go to get your game on. Go for the beers. Go for the cheers. Go for the hit and the hits. Go for the stakes and the stakes. Go to get your parlay on. Go to get your party on. Go for the scene. Go for the screens. Go for the gallery. Go for the win. Go to Ocean. Visit theoceanac.com to plan your visit.
EAGLES. Eagles.
All right, welcome back in. Everybody, appreciate you hanging with us. We are Sports Take, JAKIB Sports YouTube Network. That handsome man is Derek Gunn, just like he wrote it. I am Rob Ellis, hanging out with you on this Tuesday. Hi, Derek. Hi.
Hello there, Robert. Stop.
Hello there. I know you had a fun day with one of the little ones today. Derek and I were going over some stuff for the show, and I could hear him going crazy and doing his thing, man, keeping you on your toes. I love it.
Hey, look, man, these 2-year-old granddaughter and her 1-year-old brother. First of all, he tears up everything he can get his hands on. So while I'm talking to you on the phone,
right,
he jumps on my lap, and when he wants to kiss you, it's open mouth. He wants to kiss you, right? So I'm trying to talk to you, and I'm kissing him at the same time. And then I put him down while I'm talking to you. I put you on speaker. I put him down. His 2-year-old sister walks up behind him with these magnetic tiles that we have that you can build blocks and stuff with, and whacks him in the back of the head with it. And then I turn around 5 seconds later. She's got him in a full Nelson like this, and he's standing like this.
Oh, my God.
And I'm laughing at I'm like, stop it. Then she takes a lot of the tiles, because there's like 100 of them. And while I'm talking to you, I put this gate around the family room so they both couldn't get out. She's standing there looking at me, and she's taking the tiles one by one and throwing them in the kitchen. And she's smiling, right? And so she knows I'm not going to say anything until I get off the phone. So I open the gate.
Right.
Go get them. Go get all of them. Make her bring them all back in. Okay, Tata. And goes back and gets all of them. And then the next time, she's sitting on the floor and she's throwing them out of the crate. My brother catches a couple right across the forehead. Pee. Dude, it's like Keystone Cops around my house, man.
Oh my God, man! I don't know how you're doing it, man. Yeah, I'm surprised you don't have any injuries yourself.
No, just emotional scars. That's all
Just
I got.
emotion.
Just
the ones on the inside.
Yeah, just the ones on the inside. Look, lack of sleep, a master's degree in patience and endurance, and then when my son-in-law wakes up because he's the RN and he comes down to get them for me. And he's sitting there and he's feeding them. And the little guy, he doesn't want the spaghetti. He loves spaghetti, but he sees these dino nuggets, right?
Oh, God.
So he's pitching a fit because dad's not giving them dino nuggets fast enough. Meanwhile, the little sister's over there scarfing down spaghetti. I look at him and I said, dude, I had 3 kids. We had 3 kids in a little under 4 years.
Right.
And there were times when my wife had to go away and I had to take all 3 by myself. Dude, I was like a hockey goalie trying to keep pucks in play, man. I'm telling you. Because at one point, my kids were like 4, 2, and 1. You know, like, dude, it wasn't easy. But you look back and laugh later in life, but right now, he goes, I don't know how I ended up in this position.
Oh, my God. I know. Yeah, like I had 2. I had to play man-to-man. You had to play zone. That's tough. Not easy.
Hey, look, Rob, I always tell people, they say the average is, 2 to 2.5 kids in a White House with a picket fence. I say, I appreciate the family that has 2 kids, but I say, you know what? That's easy. Because like you just said, I've always said, you got 2 kids, you can play man-to-man defense. When you have 3 or more, you got to go to zone defense.
Zone's a whole different story, man.
That's a whole different ballgame.
No, it is. Oh my God. All right. So just to recap, Eagles injuries. Nakobe Dean, we know, is going to be out. Yeah. James Bradbury in concussion protocol with a Thursday game. I'm not saying anything's definitive, but it ain't good. Let's put it that way.
Sirianni came out and said it's probably not possible to get him turned around because of concussion protocol. Right. So he's out.
Yep. And that, again, you're dealing with Justin Jefferson. The kid they drafted, Addison, can play, and you're dealing with a really good tight end. So just keep that in mind. But then you also have Fletcher Cox ribs, Gainwell ribs, Blankenship rib. Man, 3 guys with rib injuries.
Still waiting to get an update on Blankenship. But like I told you off the top of the show, Fletcher should be good to go. Gainwell is wait and see day to day with his ribs.
Okay. Yeah, so that's where we're at right now with the injuries as they're trying to just speed up the process, and both teams have to deal with it. It's not just the Eagles. But let's look back here, Derek. They put up 25 points against the Patriots, but 13 of those directly come off turnovers, basically.
Yep.
The offense didn't light the world on fire. It looked, as we said, choppy, non-rhythmic. It looked like they maybe were moving away from as many RPOs. Maybe that was just a game plan. Certain guys not involved, Goddard, Swift, etc. Just generally didn't have the feel that we had for most weeks last year when Jalen Hurts was in there. And I will say too, I thought he had Goddard a couple times and didn't go to him. So everybody sort of wears this one, Derek.
Well, that's directly because Belichick's defensive scheme totally frustrated this offense. You know, Belichick's scheme is about illusions, making you think you see one thing, and all of a sudden when the ball snaps, it's something completely different. And the Eagles had a difficult time trying to compensate for that. Luckily, they weren't playing an offensive team close to their firepower. And even with that said, in the fourth quarter, twice, the Patriots had a chance to move down the field and strike. You know, they failed to convert on a fourth down situation. And then, of course, they had back-to-back, like false start penalties that cost them in another situation. And then, of course, that last play, which was a perfectly thrown ball, the tight end did get his feet down out of bounds to keep that drive alive. Game over, plain and simple.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see now how many more defenses try to emulate some of the things that Belichick did. You know, I don't think Minnesota has the same personnel that the Patriots do. But there's some other teams. I cannot wait to see the Eagles play this Jets defense. Even though I think the Eagles are going to win now that Rodgers is out for the season. I can't wait to see this Eagles offense go up against this defense. This defense is a nightmare. Yeah. But Belichick did his job. You know, he knew he was at a deficit. But what did he do? He had 7 months to study this Eagles offense, and he did a great job. You're right. The offense accounted for, what did you say, 13 points? What was it?
Basically, yeah. 12 points.
12 points. You know, interception gets 1 touchdown. Kicker gets 9 points. So this offense came out of the gate sluggish, still found a way to survive overall as a team. They've got to build on this in a short amount of time against a pretty good offensive opponent, but an opponent that's suspect on defense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's going to be interesting Thursday night. At home, season opener at home. House is going to be electric, national TV. They're going to want to put on a show Thursday night.
What I'm wondering is how much of that was, okay, like there's a lot of things that go into your thought with the way the offense went about things. One, how much were they trying to counter what Belichick was doing? How much is that a concerted effort to keep Jalen out of harm's way a little bit more? How much of it was just poor execution? It's week 1. Guys simply didn't make plays, you know, Jalen, et cetera. I mean, I don't know right now. If you start to get worried if it looks the same next or this Thursday, because this Minnesota team is not nearly as good defensively as the Patriots.
No. I think in this case, because it was so out of what we thought we would see from this offense, I think in this case, as A.J. Brown said after the game, because the Patriots gave so many different looks that we didn't expect, you know, they couldn't overcome what Belichick was doing. Brian Flores is a good defensive coordinator. I don't know if he can come up with a scheme similar to what Belichick did on a short turnaround and hopefully have Minnesota have the same measure of success. I really don't. But I think in this case, it was the Eagles offense trying to figure out what the Patriots were doing and had to alter on the fly in many cases. Now, we've talked in depth about Jalen eyeing his primary target a little too much and missing Goddard and other people wide open in spots on the field. So I expect they've gone over this on the film yesterday, today, and tomorrow, and they'll do a better job of that. Will it be much more efficient than it was against the Patriots? I don't know, because if Gainwell's out, then who steps up? I mean, obviously Penny's going to be activated. I still want to know why Penny was a healthy scratch.
Swift's got to be the feature if that's the case, right?
I mean, he's got to be the feature. Yes.
Yeah.
You know, no question about it. So
yeah, it's a good question. I don't know. You know, the other thing I failed to put in there that we should discuss is is Brian Johnson still feeling his way through this? Like, we assumed because there's so much talent that everything's just going to come off very smoothly and they're going to be a 30-point per game team like they were last year, or 28, whatever it was. And maybe some of this is we have to give him a little bit of time to grow into the role also, like we're going to have to give Sean Desai.
I agree. I think Brian Johnson is doing a little soul searching because it wasn't as fluid as he wanted it to be that first game. And let's face it, he was matched up against the GOATs of defensive, designs. And that's a little overwhelming at times. He's not going to face a whole lot more Belichick's this season. Anybody comes close to Belichick. So I'm sure he's going to revamp his game plan. I'm sure him and Sirianni have sat behind closed doors for hours going over, okay, in this situation, you did this, but maybe you should have done that. So I expect to see more fluidity in this offense come Thursday night, and that's why I'm glad they're playing Thursday. As much as players hate this short turnaround, players do not. The NFLPA players do not like going from Sunday to Thursday. From a fan perspective, from a media perspective, we love it because we don't have to wait a full 7 days before the next game. See, we'll have 4 games. We'll have 2 games in a span of 4 days to break down, right, obviously, which will carry us into the weekend.
And they don't even play till Monday night the following week.
I know.
It's an extra day, in fact.
I know.
It's crazy. It is crazy. All right, so let's go to the defense here. So let me start by saying a lot of good from the young guys, a lot of good from Jalen Carter, a lot of good from Jordan Davis that we saw. I mean, huge positives. Carter immediately making an impact. Jordan Davis made more of an impact in that game Sunday than he made in any single game last year, in my opinion.
Yeah.
That's huge. If those two are ready to be those two guys right away, I mean, it's going to go a long way because they're just going to get better, better, and better.
If that is what's to come, the future of the Eagles' deep tackle position is in good hands with Davis and Carter. Carter getting consistent pressure, making Mac Jones very uncomfortable, move his feet a lot, and he got 1 sack in his first game as well. If that's a sample of what we're going to see from Carter all season, he is going to be a monster, and he will continue to be one of my lead candidates for Defensive Rookie of the Year, no question about that. Jordan Davis, obviously, he knows he has a lot to prove, and he went out and he really played a good game in terms of plugging the gaps, commanding 2 gaps. In a lot of situations, they let other guys come in and fill the gaps on run situations because the Patriots running game was virtually non-existent, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
And if that is the case, if we can get that consistency from those 2 guys, that takes a lot of pressure off Fletcher Cox and Milton Williams.
Huge. I mean, huge what that's able to do. I thought Fletcher played well also. The problem is, Derek, the next level after them, and it's the linebackers, and you're already going to be without Nakobe Dean. Now you throw Christian Ellis in there to go with Zach Cunningham. Cunningham had the fumble recovery, but I thought other than that, it was a struggle for Zach Cunningham.
Yeah.
And I just foresee teams attacking the middle in a lot of different ways, whether it's tight ends, whether it's slant passes, whatever. Yes. I think that's something I think Minnesota is going to test in a big way.
I couldn't agree more. Guys setting down in holes in the middle of the field. That's why it's imperative that front puts a lot of heat on Kirk Cousins, because Cousins is not going to scramble around like Mac Jones did. Yeah. Cousins, for all the numbers that he puts up, you'll see Cousins, when he feels pressure, he'll start to curl up. Instead of standing in there, like Mac Jones did and trying to wait for somebody to come open, you'll see Cousins curl up a little bit soon sometimes. Yep. And hopefully the Eagles get to him early to make him feel very uncomfortable the entire game, which disrupts the timing between him and his wide receivers. And when you have guys like Justin Jefferson and his kid Jordan Addison on the other side, especially if Bradbury's not playing, that is not a good sign. Not a good sign.
And look, the Eagles put together a nice blueprint last year. They did a really good job. Justin Jefferson was held to, it was less than 50 yards receiving, which doesn't happen very often in Justin Jefferson's career. They did a great job.
It tells you the fact that he had 1,800 yards receiving for the season and led the NFL, but he got less than 50 yards here in Philadelphia. That tells you how much they were able to shut him down. Can they do that again this year? Oh,
I know. Look, there's $1 million question there. There's no doubt. There is no doubt. Yeah, I'm looking at So 6 receptions, 48 yards, Derek, last year. They were 1 for 4 in the red zone. They were 4 for 12 on third down efficiency. Cousins had 3 interceptions. Like, the Eagles defense swallowed them whole last year.
Yeah.
But obviously not everybody's still here from last year. And we're still learning, what this Eagles defense is. And maybe it's just me. You can look at it one of two ways. You could say the Eagles have a good game plan against Jefferson, or you could say a dude like that's not going to be held down 2 games in a row. I don't think. I would expect a much bigger game from Jefferson. The question is, can you just contain him enough and force the others into mistakes? And their running game last week against Tampa stunk. They had no running game. They were a one-dimensional team. That's what the Eagles need to do. This is where you could see Sweat and Hassan Reddick and those guys eat Brandon Graham on the edges if Minnesota gets very predictable and one-dimensional.
No, absolutely. I wonder to what degree that thumb is affecting Hassan Reddick. He had his quickness, but in terms of getting his hands on the shoulder pads of tackles and trying to move them one way or the other for him to attack, I wonder to what degree that bothered him, if any. And, of course, each and every week you hope it gets better. You hope it doesn't re-injure it. But the Vikings are going to try to dump the ball off to the backs too.
Yeah.
And that's another thing, about their linebackers covering backs coming out of the backfield. I'm curious to see, now that they're going to have a revamped linebacking core, how that comes into play.
Yes. Yes.
Cunningham is a good linebacker in terms of coming up on running plays. He's so-so in terms of pass coverage, And now Christian Ellis, who had a good camp and a good preseason, I don't know what he's going to look like now in the heat of a battle for a full 60-minute game. You don't know.
No, you don't know. That's the thing. You come away. It's funny. You come away from week 1 almost with more question marks than you had going into week 1.
Yeah.
I mean, you're even thinner at linebacker now, and we still don't know that the other guys can play. You saw some good things, certainly, as we mentioned right off the top, defensively on your interior defensive line. But there are other things that you wonder about altogether. We still don't know exactly, and I don't think we'll know for a while, in fairness to them, what these coordinators are all about. I mean, there's a lot of things you go into this Minnesota game kind of scratch your head. You like that they're home. I think it's going to go a long way, Derek, that they didn't necessarily play well, but they also survived it. So there is an element of, we know we have to be better. They're an accountable group. The Eagles are. Yeah. And I think they may not say, hey, we feel fortunate, but I think they feel fortunate. You know what I mean? I think they feel fortunate they won that game.
Oh, they do. There's no question about it. They know their belief is, we didn't come close to playing like we expected to play. Right. But yet we found a way to escape with a W. Now let's keep building on that, as they did last year coming out of Detroit. And look at what they did last year. Even though I believe they're going to beat the Jets now just based on the fact that Rodgers is done, it's still a tough schedule to face. There's no question about that. Unless all of these prime quarterbacks fall by the wayside, they've still got a tough road to go in terms of trying to get to where they want to go. But health is going to be key. And we're already seeing a number of key players nicked up that we didn't see last year. And I hope this doesn't become an epidemic, because, Rob, if it does, you're going to hear me say, I'm having flashbacks to 2005. And I don't want that to happen. But you already got your middle linebacker down with a foot injury for 3 to 4 weeks. Your cornerback's out with concussion protocol. You got 3 defensive players dealing with rib, or 2 defensive players dealing with rib injuries. Yeah. Your running back is iffy. Your safety is iffy right now. So if you go into this Minnesota game, think about this. Let's say Blankenship is out. Yep. You could be looking at Slay, possibly the young kid Sidney Brown. Yep. You got Evans as your other.
Right. Justin Evans, who started last week. You're going to see Terrell Edmonds.
Yes, and then Job on the outside, on the other side.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's as athletic as Sidney is, that's still a makeshift back into your defense.
Right. The fear with Sidney is, he's going to come up on run support and blow somebody up or hit a receiver. There's no doubt physicality is going to be there. The question is he going to be baited into something? Is he going to make a mistake? Is he going to bite on a play action? You know what I mean? They use his aggression against him is what you worry about with a young player like that.
And that's why it's imperative the front keeps as much heat on Cousins when he steps back to pass as possible. Because if he pump fakes and he's still holding that ball, waiting for somebody to get free, I don't like those odds.
Here's the other thing too, Derek. Other than Carter and Davis, the defensive line, in my opinion, especially the edge guys, didn't do enough against the depleted Patriot offensive line. No. That can't be the same thing this week. So the Vikings are dealing with some stuff too here. So their center, Garrett Bradbury, has a back injury. Their left tackle, Christian Darrisaw, has an ankle. And they go to the other side. Marcus Davenport's dealing with an ankle. Their edge guy. But they have two banged up offensive linemen too. This can't be a week where you're not getting home if you're the edge guys. Like I want to see Reddick. I want to see Sweat. I want to see BG get in there. You don't
want to see Cousins standing there free of will pumping the ball.
No, he'll pick you apart. Yeah, he will.
Somebody's coming free, whether it's Hawkinson, whether it's Jefferson or Addison. Somebody's coming free. If he's back there 1,003, 1,004, and he's patting the ball just watching the field, somebody's coming free. You have got to get heat on him up the middle. And because I don't think he can beat the Eagles to the outside, flow to the outside. I think their edge guys are too fast for him on the outside. That includes Reddick, Sweat, and Nolan Smith. And even my guy, old man Brandon Graham. They're too fast for him to try to get to the outside, But if he's standing in that pocket and he's pumping the ball on a 3 count or a 4 count, that does not bode well for a defense that's going to have to plug some gaps health-wise as it is.
Well, and look, as much as we talked about it being a learning lesson for the Eagles, it was the best case scenario because you also got to win. Vikings lost at home, right? And they're going to come in here pretty ticked off, right? And understanding what they did, what they didn't do. It was a game where, again, Cousins turned the ball over a bunch. They couldn't establish a run game at all. They have a new defensive coordinator in Brian Flores, who's a good defensive coordinator. Problem is, does he have enough talent on that side of the ball? So, I mean, you're gonna also see a big time sense of urgency. Look, I know teams have recovered from 0-2 starts. Cincinnati's done it, a couple times, whatever. That's hard in this league, because that division's probably only getting one, Gunner.
No, there's no question about it. And on top of that, you don't want to potentially fall 2 games behind both Detroit and Green Bay.
Right.
Now that's obviously based on what those 2 teams do on Sunday, but still, there's a possibility if the Vikings lose that game, they're 0-2 and can fall 2 games behind early in the season behind those 2 teams. That's not where you want to be.
Yeah, agreed. And look, I wonder too, I'm not saying like right away, but do you wonder if the offense looks stagnant, will Nick get more involved here? It's not to say he doesn't call plays every once in a while or veto something or make suggestions and all that, but he clearly let Steichen do his thing. Do you think he would get a little bit more involved with Brian since he's just the inexperience? Yeah.
If he's seeing things that Brian's not seeing, I expect him to either get in Brian's ear or to make play suggestions. Absolutely. This is his offense. This is his playbook. He allows Steichen to run it and put his twist on it. And Steichen did a great job with it in keeping it an unpredictable offense. And he's doing the same thing with Brian Johnson. But if you find out that in the span of 4 days that is not working to your like, yes, he's going to get in there. Absolutely, he's got to get in there and make suggestions, or he might take over play calling periodically, certain down and distance situations.
I was really surprised, honestly, like that he brought up the preseason thing, the approach. Yeah. That surprised me. I really thought that he would just kind of lay low. I mean, it's 1 game, but maybe it really troubled him that he felt like they were just that off sync. I really do.
If that offense looked discombobulated to us, imagine from a coaching perspective, especially after looking at film or watching it produce or lack thereof in a game. And I don't blame him for taking that approach because we've been saying it all along. How do you expect this offense or this team in general to hit the ground running fluid when you haven't played them in a game?
Mm-hmm.
You can talk about these control scrimmages against opponents all you want, but you control those narratives. And you can blow the whistle early so nobody gets seriously hurt. But when you're playing every down to the ground full speed, that's a little bit different. Mm-hmm. And I'm not surprised he said that. Maybe I need to reevaluate this in terms of getting my guys sharper coming out of the gate.
Which, good, but I wonder how Howie feels about that. And we know ultimately this is a group decision. It's not a solo decision for Nick. Let's get a timeout. Let's come back. Adam Kaplan. Can't wait to talk to Adam, man. A lot to discuss, not only with the Eagles, but around the NFL with the happenings last night. Just unbelievable. We'll discuss all that when we come back. Don't go anywhere. That's Derek Gunn. I'm Rob Ellis. We're Sports Take, JAKIB Sports YouTube Network. Let's talk about Jim Murray and Principal Financial Group. Oh, man, I can tell you it is very difficult. I can tell you from personal experience how hard it is to find the right person to trust with your finances. Whether it's retirement planning, 401k review, insurance review, you might have a small business and you need help with employee benefits. It's another resource that Jim can help you with. I personally have entrusted my IRA, my 401k rollovers with Jim, and I couldn't be any happier. You will be too. Give him a call, 610-996-4751, 610-996-4751, or you could email him, Murray, MURRAY, .jim@principal.com. That's murray.jim@principal.com.
If you own a company and you're not producing a podcast, you're missing out. The public consumes messaging when they're ready. Join the professional podcast network of companies and let JAKIB Media Partners put you in the podcast arena. Come to our professional studio, or we'll come to your place of business and professionally produce your company podcast. Call JAKIB Media right now at 267-261-3428. 267-261-3428.
Heading down the shore, have a ball once more.
Here, imaginations run wild and time stands still. Because here, you can find the best of the Jersey Shore, all on one 5-mile island. So leave the old you behind and get lost in the woods.
Wild, wild, wild wood days.
Score and save in southeastern PA and Delaware with Colony Pools this football season, and let the experts close your pool with a custom Merlin safety cover in green for the birds. And if you join our Winter Watch team, we'll give you another 20% off, and Colony Pools will handle it all. Keep your tiles on your pool, not in your pool. Fly with Colony right now, birds fans. Visit flywithcolony.com. EAGLES, Eagles.
Thanks for hanging out with us. We do appreciate it. He's Derek Gunn. I am Rob Ellis. Let's smash the like button, friends, if you could. We are Sports Take, JAKIB Sports YouTube channel. Always excited when we have our next guest on. He does an awesome job covering the entirety of the league, certainly focusing on the Eagles as well. You could follow him on X or Twitter at Kaplan NFL. You could catch his work, awesome work, at PFN 365, Sirius XM NFL, Fox Sports Radio, and of course with our guy Jeff Mosher on Inside Birds. What is up, A-Caps? How you doing?
Up? Good to see you guys. Yeah, it's been a while. Yeah, it was a fun week leading up. We got the short week this week in terms of the Eagles, and it was the expected outcome for that game. But boy, at times it was ugly.
Well, let's go there, Adam, because there is the old adage, a win's a win and all that. But I think when you're an Eagles fan, because you have such high hopes for this season, and there were things that you went into the season concerned about, which kind of reared their ugly heads to some extent, I think that's what brings out this sort of gloom and doom, even though you did win the game. Is that fair in your estimation?
Yeah, look, the coaches will tell you that yes, week one you want to win, and bad tape is not necessarily a bad thing because you see what teams are trying to do to you. We'll look at their defense. We said on Inside the Birds last week, Zach Cunningham is going to be targeted for sure against the Patriots, whether it's first, second down, or third down. Don't just think it's a passing situation. They're going to go after him. They did. Right. Dean unfortunately got hurt. We thought the safety play against the pass would be a problem. It was. None of those things that happened were surprising. It's just going forward here. Okay, now you have these issues. What is Sean Desai and his coaching staff going to do on defense to make these corrections the best that he can and cover them up? That remains to be seen. And then offensively, it was disappointing. I mean, it was kind of what we said on Inside the Birds leading up to the game. It's going to be an ugly game. Moshe and I both picked the Eagles. We picked a low-scoring game. I picked it 22-16. What was it, 25-20? I thought it was going to be ugly. It was.
Yep.
I don't think anything that happened was a surprise. We just didn't know exactly how it would go.
Yeah.
But we did think the better team would win. But, man, it got hairy. It got hairy. Boy, did they kind of bog down a little bit and made the game closer than it should have been.
Hey, Adam, after the game, A.J. Brown said Belichick threw a lot of different looks at us that we weren't expecting, and it basically frustrated us. What did you see from Belichick's scheme that was really frustrating and stagnating that Eagles offense?
Well, we talked to John DeFilippo, the former quarterbacks coach of the Eagles, about this. When John was the Vikings OC in 2018, he brought out a new defense completely that he'd never run before. He'd never seen it before. And these are these so-called unscattered looks. And whether it's man press coverage, whether they try to take away, as we saw, the interior of the passing game, that's where Dallas Goedert didn't get the ball. They just did some things that they had not seen because it's the first game of the year. And by the way, they're facing a similar scheme. Brian Flores runs his version of Belichick's defense for the Vikings. So that's coming this week, by the way. Whatever the Eagles struggled with, Flores is going to make sure he finds it.
He's a disciple of
right. And look, that's the way this is, Rob. It's a copycat league. Coaches see. We know it's week one, so you want to be careful with the broad statements. But we got what we expected, that we expected to see, and it was kind of ugly. But again, good teams find a way to win, and they were able to find a way to win that game. And as you said, Rob, you just want to come out. What I said, my word, when we did our post-game show with myself and Clay Harbor and Jeff, was that survive in advance. That's what they did. It was ugly, but somehow they won.
Let me go specific to the offense, Adam. Was this just, hey, sometimes you don't execute at the highest level that you're accustomed to? It seemed like there were less RPOs, maybe a little bit, and maybe that was just to attack what Belichick was doing. Maybe Jalen was just off. How do you account for the choppiness of the offense?
Yeah, Rob, I would say with Hurts, he wasn't comfortable. That's a term that coaches use. He was not comfortable in the pocket. I don't think he set his feet enough sometimes. I just thought that they gave him a lot of looks where he held on the ball, wasn't sure where to go to the football. And the other thing is, the coaches need to help him. Our target number for the backs in this game was 7 or more. They got 7, but it wasn't the way that we thought it would happen. DeAndre Swift, you make a trade for this player. Where was he in this game? It was a complete non-factor. Complete non-factor. Rashad Penny, they signed him to a 1-year deal. I get the money was cheap, but no offense to any of the other backs. He's just more explosive.
Yeah.
And I know that for special teams, you typically don't dress for running backs unless it's for a specific reason or one of your backs is hurt. And by the way, Kenny Gainwell now has a ribs injury, so we'll see if Penny dresses. Yeah. But Penny should have played. And here's another thing. I was just looking at the snap counts. Kentavious Street did not play on special teams. He played 6 defensive snaps. Why not have Rashad Penny up for this game? That was a tactical error. That was just a mistake.
Hey, Cap, were you surprised they leaned on Gainwell as much as they did in this game?
No, these coaches, we've been talking about this for 3 years on the Inside the Bird show. They love this guy. I get it. He has some ability, but Derek, the role that they envision him for is not the role that he has.
Yes.
He was an explosive playmaker at Memphis. We had Ryan Silverfield on, his coach from Memphis, a couple times on our show. Silverfield never saw this role, this grinded out, pound the rock role. He wasn't like that. He was a slot receiver, not slot, but he was an outside receiver. Get him out in space. They're not doing that with him here. So I know that they could grind carries out. He has a variety of roles, 2 minutes, 4 minutes, short yardage. That's fine. But it's about explosive plays, Derek, and they were unable to get that out of this past game.
And that's the thing, Adam. You're saying to yourself, all right, where's Goddard? And I know he was open a couple times, and Jalen maybe didn't go to him, whatever the case may be, but that guy's too darn good to have one target in the entire game against New England.
Yeah, I know that you could see from the TV copy. We're going to talk to John DeFilippo tomorrow. He does. He's going to do some tape stuff for us, and I'm interested to see what Flip sees on the All-22 because I want to know if these guys are getting open, they were not getting the football, and what the scheme looked like. I know that the Patriots can make you play left-handed. It's really hard to go against that defense, but their offense, only scored 18 offensive points because they had a defensive touchdown. That's just not acceptable. And thank goodness for Jake Elliott, who bailed him out, quite frankly.
With some bombs, too, in bad weather.
Yeah, he's great.
Yep.
He's great.
How would you define Brian Johnson's maiden voyage as a play caller?
I'm going to be kind because I know a lot of coaches, so I try not to criticize too much, but it was disappointing. It was kind of uneven. Yeah. I liked the way they attacked early. Then they were completely stagnant. And this is where Sirianni as a play caller, or he was a play caller, obviously, the first year until he handed off to Steichen, but as the head coach who comes from offense, has got to tap him on the shoulder to say, hey, get Agent Zero the football. Let's do this. Let's do that. It was an underwhelming offensive display. And quite frankly, you can't blame it all on New England's defense. I get it. That has part of it. But you can't throw your hands up and give up. I mean, it has to be better. But it is week one. This is what I've learned in 24 years of doing this being in this business, covering the National Football League. First, week one is generally ugly. 13 out of 16 games went under the total. There's a reason for it. The defenses are ahead of the offense.
How surprised were you? It caught me off guard a little bit, Adam, that Nick Sirianni referenced maybe I'll do things differently in the preseason going forward. I mean, clearly he didn't feel like his team was prepared in some ways, but this is a big picture collective decision that goes on organizationally too. Were you surprised by that?
Rob, let me go because I when I heard his press conference live, I understood why he said that because he was asked the question. Let's understand he responded to a question, and I'm kind of two ways on this. So talking to Steelers yesterday or people there, okay, they had a great offseason. They practiced more than any team other than the Ravens in training camp, and they play their starters in the preseason. They were terrible against the Niners. Okay,
yep.
So they were flat, right? At home, embarrassing. I know the Niners are really good, but they were terrible. The Eagles don't practice very much in training camp. They don't play their stars in the preseason. They won, but they didn't look great. So what is it? It's really hard to say. With sports science, I'm a believer in it. I know it works, but it's the end result. They found a way to win. They have a pretty good injury situation, relatively. There are a couple of things to note, but Rob, it's a tough question. Because I remember asking Andy Reid this, and I kind of laughed at his response. So McNabb, I'd have to look this up. I think McNabb might have played one play in one preseason, probably like 04, 05 or something. I don't know what it was. It was so absurd. I'm like, Andy, why did you do that? Well, I wanted him to touch grass. I'm like, what the hell does that mean? What would you? But again, now it's funny. Andy now plays his starters in the preseason. Remember, he barely did it.
He does it more than anybody else now.
Yes,
Right. Isn't it interesting, guys, how he's changed?
Yeah, it's weird. It is weird. I think it might have been when he threw that one to T.O. maybe in 04.
Oh, well, that was the first game, though, right? Was it?
Yeah.
That was the first game of the season. Yep.
Funny, man.
That was awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, you look at the multitude of injuries this Eagles team is now fighting, especially with the rib injuries. We know Bradbury's not going to play Thursday night, too short of a turnaround and concussion protocol. There's a possibility Blankenship could be out. You're going to have a makeshift secondary, possibly, against this Vikings offense. Now, the Vikings struggled at home, but let's face it, they do have the weapons to do some damage. And, would you elevate Sidney Brown or would you – as a safety valve, maybe put Edmonds in there, who didn't start alongside Justin Evans?
Yeah, I mean, Evans, as I understand, is ahead of him. It was the last 2 weeks of training camp. It was between Evans and the other kid. Yeah, the other kid. They were sharing time. So really, when you look at this situation with Edmonds and Evans, it's just not good enough. We knew this coming in. This is not a secret to anyone who really follows this. It was a major step down from Gardner Johnson, who has done very well. Has spent 2 days with the Lions in training camp. I know they're really happy to have him, though. They would admit that he chirps a lot, but hey, he's a good football player. Here, Evans has revived his career after missing 3 years of football due to injury. He'd rather be your third safety. Blankenship's a nice player. We'll have to see for Thursday night. Now, they have enough players, but Sidney Brown, Derek, is just not there yet. Now, he is a gunner in special teams. He's effective. He had that great special teams tackle. By the way, he was really good in training camp, as I understand it, special teams. Eventually, he's going to be a starter. It's a little bit early to do this, But they don't have an look. If two of your top three guys are hurt, someone's going to have to play, or probably wasn't going to play a lot. And look, you could throw them in there, but it's a little bit early. But we'll see what happens.
Adam, they shut Jefferson down last year.
They did.
Perhaps better than any team did in the NFL. 46 yards. I mean, you don't see that very often. Do you view that as they got a pretty good blueprint here, or this guy's going to go nuts? Because this doesn't happen often to this guy. 2 weeks in a row, two teams in a row that he plays.
Right. They're running a similar scheme. They're running Fangio here, but Desai does not run it. Boy, does he run it differently up front. He doesn't run the same front at all. Completely different. This is what we saw in training camp, and it's pretty much like this against the Patriots. The coverages are relatively close to what his predecessor Gannon was running. So the question is, okay, because the blueprint is kind of overrated, Rob.
Yeah.
No coordinators run it the same, but they'll look at what worked and they'll see if their guys can do it. Mm-hmm. And now with Bradbury almost certain not to play, like 2 out of every 100 players who gets in the concussion protocol plays on the following game that Thursday. It's very rare for these guys to get cleared. So yeah, I agree with it. We don't see any way he's going to play. Now with Dean out for a while, you worry about the secondary and third level defenders. That's the coaching term. A second level is middle, third level is your back end. That does worry me a little bit. And by the way, you saw, as we said at the top here, you saw out New England absolutely attack the middle of the field against them. That to me, with Hawkinson in this matchup, if you play fantasy, this is a guy should be in your lineup.
Jeez.
No, I agree. And he didn't have a great week necessarily last week.
That's all right. You saw what Henry did this week. But
listen, I'm with you.
He should have got the ball more.
People forget he wasn't with them last year when the
it's true.
Hey, Adam, I said off the top of the show, if what we saw from Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis in game 1 is a sample of what's to come, the D tackle position for this team is in good hands for years to come.
No team is better on the interior of their defensive line than the Eagles. I look at all 32 teams, not just one, and the Eagles are the deepest. They've got the best versatility. Milton Williams, by the way, started this past game, who also could play defensive tackle. No, they're great there. And I was talking to an agent who has more than one Eagles player, and he said that his players told him that as good as Jordan Davis was in training camp, and there's no question about it, he improved. Jalen Carter is probably the best defensive player in training camp, but I had not heard that before. I thought that was interesting. So look, it's no surprise he was effective, and with him, it's never been about performance on the field. It's about doing everything right off the field.
Yeah, and Chris Long actually tweeted out last night, Adam, which was pretty interesting. He had heard from people he was talking to that Jalen Carter was going to be the best defensive lineman on the Eagles. So I mean, Chris Long's not just throwing things against the wall. He doesn't have any reason to do that. So I thought he did that. I'll see if I can pull it up, the exact quote, but it was like, wow, okay. A lot of belief there, in this guy.
They should. I mean, he was the best player overall for this draft. If you talk to the top 10 teams, they would all tell you privately, as they did to me, they know he was the best player in the draft. But the problem was, the quarterbacks, teams that needed quarterbacks. And then a couple of the teams said to me, they were not comfortable. And that's just the way it is. And look, the Eagles were.
Yeah,
they think they have this under control. His issues off the field, he's got to answer some of them over time. But from what I've heard behind the scenes, so far so good.
All right, I'll give you the exact tweet. He sent it out last night. He said, "I heard a rumor out of camp that Jalen Carter would be the best Eagles defensive player this year, and you can see why." He gives a little tape breakdown. Eagles took 29 defensive snaps in the fourth quarter, and that's why you have depth to roll bodies. And who knows better than him, with the ability to throw fastballs and keep that rotation going. But he said the best defensive player, not even just defensive lineman. So high praise.
That's incredible. I mean, folks, this guy, 98, Jalen Carter, and he's a pretty serious guy, by the way. It's, nobody really knows him other than his Georgia teammates, but he's also a pretty quiet guy, keeps to himself. So it's just, D-line coach Tracy Rocker played in the NFL. Hopefully he gets to know him well enough that he understands what he's dealing with here. But man, the performance this game was something else, and it's pretty special the way that Howie Roseman, the GM, has built this defensive line. He gets it. I don't agree with Howie and everything, the way that the roster is built, but they've had this philosophy that Joe Banner and Jeffrey Lurie brought in actually before Derek got here in Philly, but a little bit earlier than that, in the 93, 94 area.
Yeah.
The one thing you could say about the Eagles, they get it right in terms of how to build a team. It's up front, offensive, defensive lines, and why teams don't do this is beyond me.
Adam, when you look at the play across the league in week 1, it was raggedy. Did you think it would be that raggedy?
Well, week one, Derek, is always bad in terms of they're slapping his tackles. You'll see some good running games from teams, but overall, the passing numbers, other than that incredible Dolphins Chargers game, which had 70 combined points. In fact, I could have watched that all day. That was incredible.
Yeah.
That was incredible. And poor Brandon Staley, who, by the way, the Eagles had very strong interest in talking to, but the Chargers knew this and they beat him to it. So, look, it's typical of week one. It's ugly, but I remember Bill Polian came on our show Inside the Birds and told us, the Hall of Fame general manager, it's a good 6 or 7 weeks till we see the major adjustment to when the offenses sort of take over. And it's going to be fun. Look, it'll be much better. And by the way, the matchups are so much better for the Eagles against the Vikings. They're not very good in the secondary. And you want to get it's what I said about when they played the Vikings last year. It's going to take Ed Donatel, their defensive coordinator for the Vikings, a while to figure it out. And unfortunately, he never did. So he got removed, and Brian Flores is in there. You're not going to get this Belichick-style defense down in a matter of 2 weeks in the regular season. So I think the Eagles are catching the Vikings at a good time this week.
Adam, I know you cover the league as well. Last night, I mean, what a range of emotions. Yeah. Rodgers goes down. It turns out to be a crazy game, which ends on a walk-off punt return. But just give me your assessment of what you're hearing around the league, because Derek and I were saying this earlier. We don't have any ties to the Jets or whatever, but you wanted to see what that was going to look like. It's just 3-4 plays in, and it's just snatched right from you, man.
Yeah, it was terrible. Yeah, I know the Jets pretty well, the coaches and front office people. I haven't even talked to them today because I want to leave them alone. They're not on Flacco yet, by the way. I was told as of the hour. Maybe they will be. They should be, quite frankly. He played pretty well for them last season. But they badly need a veteran behind Zach Wilson, who'll be their starter going forward. Yeah. They've got Tim Boyle, who will be the backup, but they need to get a veteran in there badly. And it's slim pickings out there. But yeah, and I give them credit. Somehow they won it. Obviously, they were the punt. That last punt was awful. It was short and returned by the kid who made the team, wide receiver and undrafted free agent, returning for a touchdown. Xavier Gibson. Yeah, great return. And I give them credit. But as you said, he set up well. The range of emotions. Robert Saleh, I felt so bad for him because they knew their defense might be the best in the National Football League. They got Breece Hall back, who had a great game last night. Yeah. Dalvin Cook, his debut. But I'll tell you one thing: it's another team has not got it right on the offensive line. Both tackles have had issues, particularly Dwayne Brown, the left tackle, who's I think 38 or 39, come back from shoulder problems.
Becton's trying to cut guys. That
was a miss. They missed that. That was bad. I just feel bad for them, Rob. My heart's out to them. Here's the thing: this is not a Nick Foles situation out there. There's no Nick Foles out there.
Right.
Nick got hot really late in the season. Let's call it like it is. Mm-hmm. I mean, they have a great defense, really good running game. They'll have to Jimmy rig this thing to sort of play it tight to the vest. It's going to be hard. But when you have a great defense in the run game, you got a chance. But you got to make throws in this league. And Zach Wilson, that pass to Garrett Wilson was not – it got there, but it didn't look beautiful. But good luck to them at Dallas, who whitewashed the Giants on Sunday Night Football. Unbelievable.
Adam, would you say Flacco would be at the top of your list to try to get into the Jets? I mean, you hear names like make a trade for Jameis Winston, maybe make a trade for Bridgewater.
Matt Ryan.
Get Matt Ryan out of retirement.
Matt Ryan did not play. I'm trying to be nice. Penn Charter's on Matt Ryan. He didn't play well, to say the least. No, Jameis is making decent coin. It's a tradable contract. But they have to do something. They need a veteran there badly, and they can't wait too long. Wilson's definitely the starter for the next couple of weeks, but it's a tough deal. Then, by the way, I'm a big Josh Allen fan, but you can't have 4 turnovers.
He's regressing, Adam. He just is. The hero ball stuff, he's taking a big step backwards, in my opinion. And he's going to get hurt, too. There's challenges, too many guys.
He runs too much. Yeah, and that stupid time that he flipped, he jumped up.
The jump move. Why?
What are you doing? You're right, Rob. He's taking unnecessary risks. These running quarterbacks, man, I mean, you worry about them when they're outside the pocket. Now, I know talking to the Ravens, they challenged me on Lamar Jackson because he got hurt inside the pocket, right. But they didn't mention the other injuries he's had in his career when he ran and had hamstring problems or whatever it was, but you worry about that, but the bottom line is it's week one. It was week one, typical. It's good. The football is going to be better, and it starts Thursday night. And the Eagles they'll handle their business. I expect them to against probably an upset Viking team, but the bottom line is the Eagles are a better football team.
Adam, you look at the city of New York, and I jokingly mentioned this to Rob off the top of the show. You had 2 teams that came into this season beating their chest. You had a Giants team that made the playoffs for the first time in a long time last year. And, of course, ever since the trade was consummated for Rodgers, the Jets have been thumping their own chest from April to training camp to Hard Knocks until last night. Well, the Giants were the only team in the National Football League that scored no points in the first game, and your future Hall of Fame quarterback is gone 4 plays into his tenure with the Jets. You talk about taking a wind out of a football sail for an entire city.
And the Mets and the Yankees stink on top.
Oh, which I love, by the way. I'm
and the
loving
Mets
that
stink also.
Yeah, Rob and I are from here, born and raised, and I love it.
Beautiful.
It's like when my buddy Dave Spadaro spit on the star in Dallas. I cheered him on. That was hilarious. I honestly, I don't cheer for anyone unless it's when I'm not doing NFL stuff. But I do cheer for the Phillies, and I love it that the New York team stink right now. I think it's great in baseball. But getting back to what we were talking about, it's hard to believe. Now, see, this is a snowball effect. They have the special teams gaff touchdown. Barkley, just the time of the guy hit him as he's trying to catch the football. It's a snowball effect. By the way, the same thing happened to the Patriots. They got down 16-0 on unforced errors. They came back.
True. Yeah. Good point.
To make you got to stay in it mentally, and that's Brian Daboll and his staff they're gonna have to get after it. It's only 1 week, but thankfully they play the Jonathan Gannons this week in Phoenix, who I give them credit. They hung in there. They have a bad roster. And they hung in it, but the game should not have been as close as it was against Washington.
That feels like more of a knock of Washington than it does anything else. Adam, last one from me. You mentioned we saw the Niners just take the Steelers apart, and obviously the Cowboys did a number on the Giants, man. Those two looked really good week 1. I didn't see a lot of rust on them like I see on some of these other teams.
Woo!
I'm shocked. Brock Purdy misses their entire offseason. I understand the offense that Kyle Shanahan runs makes it easier for quarterbacks. Not easy, but he makes it. He's like, throw it right here. I'm going to create space for you to throw it just right here. And Brock Purdy has shocked the NFL world.
Yes.
It's unbelievable what this guy's done. I'm shocked. I know some personal guys I'm close with don't want to accept it, but they have to. The guy's a good football player, and he executes. See, execution is so important. I don't care how talented you are. If you execute, the talent doesn't matter when you just execute. Just run the play like it's supposed to. And he's done a great job with that defensive front, man. And look out! I look forward to that game when they come here to Philly again.
Yeah, that's gonna be.
I'm gonna put you on the spot. Defenses: 49ers, Jets, Cowboys. Stack them up.
I had it Jets #1 to start the season. I go Jets, Cowboys, 49ers. My issue with the Niners is they're not very good at corner. Javarius Ward's good opposite him. They're getting away with it. See, if you're a team that could spread them out, now the Steelers can, but the Steelers, that's another conversation for another time. They just couldn't protect anyone.
Yeah.
And Pickett struggled, he to say the least. But they're all good. And by the way, look, the Eagles here, they can get healthy as the season progresses. I'm interested to see what kind of pressure. They got decent pressure off of Mac Jones, but then Mac Jones beat their pressure because he got it out quickly. That's what happens when you negate a pass rush. You get rid of it quickly. But the Eagles are going to be right up there. As Derek said it very well earlier, that front, particularly their defensive tackles, wait till Carter becomes a starter or playing even more snaps.
Yeah.
This is going to be incredible how gifted this kid is.
He's a beast. He's a
My
beast.
goodness.
Yeah, can't wait. Adam, listen, keep up the good work on Inside the Birds. I know. I mean, you and Jeff do an awesome job, man. You really do.
Appreciate it, guys. And I look forward to watching Derek's series with on Gun 01 with the story on Jeff Stoutland's coaching career, which you can find on social media.
Yeah, we got 4 of Stoutland's first quartet of offensive linemen from Cornell University back in 1993, and we had fun with it. We were on there for about 45 minutes to an hour. A lot of fun, a lot of insight in terms of what makes Stoutland tick.
And wait to hear the rock fight. I'm not going to give it away.
Don't do it.
You're not going to believe it. Like that. Let's put it this way. I don't know Stoutland at all, really. I mean, I just know of him, and we all know legendary stories. But to hear the storytelling, second to none.
Nice. All right, Adam. Thanks, man. As always, appreciate it. Check Adam out at Captain NFL, and of course, Inside the Birds with Jeff Mosher as well. Adam, thanks, man. Have a good one. Take care. Yeah, he's a fountain of knowledge, man. I will tell you that. Adam Kaplan. He is all over. I was going to save this for later, but I'll throw it to you right now, Derek.
Here we go. You got a smile on your face, so this can't be good.
Guess who's back? Jason Peters has signed with the Seahawks.
No, he didn't.
41 years young.
No, he didn't.
You cannot stop him, Derek. He will just he's going to pass Brady. I'm telling you, this guy will be playing in his 50s and 60s. It is incredible. He's back again. Yes.
You know what's going to happen. He'll play a few series, get hurt. He'll be out a few games, collect a 7-figure paycheck, and ride off into the sunset, and probably play for another team next year at 42.
Sign me up. Where do I get this kind of work? I need it.
Oh, my goodness.
Who knew? Jason Peters still hanging around, man. Just absolutely unbelievable. All right. We'll take a time out here, Gunner. We'll talk little Phillies. They split the doubleheader yesterday with the Braves, and yeah, they won the nightcap, but there are troubles in Dodge City with the Phillies pitching, to say the least. Coming up in the NFL segment, man, we got a lot of ground to cover. We'll give you the latest on the Jets search for a quarterback, Chris Jones contract, a lot of injuries around the NFL. We'll get into Jim Trotter's lawsuit. What do you hear about this against the NFL? But yeah, Jason Peters is back. A bunch of other things that we will dive into as well. Don't go anywhere. That's Derek Gunn. I am Rob Ellis. We're Sports Take, JAKIB Sports YouTube Network. And I want to tell you about Pro Action Restoration. Yeah, you got water, you got fire, you got mold, you got smoke. You're not really sure what to do in your house or a property you own or a business that you may own. And guess what? It's happening at inconvenient times, right? Well, here's the beauty. Pro Action Restoration is equipped to handle all of it. And they're on call 24 hours, 7 days a week to assist. You reach out to them. They will get to your residence, your property, whatever the case may be, and clean it up like they cleaned up my parents' house. And I'll tell you what, it could have been a better experience. The crew was great. They fixed the problem. The price was reasonable. I mean, every box was checked. Pro Action Restoration is licensed, bonded, and fully insured. Serving the tri-state area for more than 2 decades, Pro Action will work in conjunction with your insurance company as well. So again, could be water, fire, smoke, mold damage, you name it, they got you back. Give them a call, 610-623-3760, 610-623-3760, or online at proactionrestoration.com. That's proactionrestoration.com.
If you own a company and you're not producing a podcast, you're missing out. The public consumes messaging when they're ready. Join the professional podcast network of companies and let JAKIB Media Partners put you in the podcast arena. Come to our professional studio, or we'll come to your place of business and professionally produce your company podcast. Call JAKIB Media right now at 267-261-3428. 267-261-3428.
Heading down the shore. Have a ball once more.
Here, imaginations run wild and time stands still. Because here, you can find the best of the Jersey Shore, all on one 5-mile island. So leave the old you behind and get lost in the woods.
Wild, wild, wild wood days.
Score and save in southeastern PA and Delaware with Colony Pools this football season, and let the experts close your pool with a custom Merlin safety cover in green for the birds. And if you join our Winter Watch team, we'll give you another 20% off, and Colony Pools will handle it all. Keep your tiles on your pool, not in your pool. Fly with Colony right now, birds fans. Visit flywithcolony.com. E-A-G-L-E-S. Eagles.
Derek Gunn and Rob Ellis. We are Sports Take, JAKIB Sports YouTube Network, with you on this Tuesday. Different kind of week, obviously, when you have the Thursday game. So we're basically in like Thursday mode, Gunner, on a Tuesday.
Good.
I'm with you. I'm with you. Let's go.
But the aftermath of that is we have that long dry spell after Thursday, man.
Yeah.
You know, we get to talk about the game Friday, then you get the weekend. And you got a whole week next week where you didn't have a game. You got to fill that void. So it's the good with the bad, so to speak, in a season like this. So.
Yeah, and we'll do more of this as the week goes on, and certainly Friday we'll dive, really heavily into the other games around the league. Certainly we'll be recapping the Eagles. There's no question about that. But all right, let me give you.
It's worse though.
What's that?
It's worse than going from Sunday to Thursday. Is when your team is on a bye week.
Oh, the worst.
That's like the Mojave Desert, It
is. You're right. There's not much. But I'm looking at some matchups that are interesting for next week, and then we'll get to the Phillies in a second. But I'm interested in Green Bay and Atlanta. That interests me.
I am too. I don't like that they're playing that one down in Atlanta, but I am interested in that game. Atlanta playing on that fast track. Man, they came out and made a statement in that first game for sure. Ritter looks like the real deal.
Mm-hmm.
Defense looks pretty good. Yeah, I mean, I got to find out. I keep telling I got to find out about Jordan Love. You can't play Chicago 17 games, and Green Bay's got some heavyweights on their schedule this year.
Yeah.
So I got to find out. Got to find out about it.
Beyond that, I mean, just going through some 1 o'clocks. I want to see how the Bills bounce back. They're taking on the Raiders, who got a big win. You have the Ravens at Cincinnati. How much different is Cincinnati going to look this week than they looked last week, right? Seattle at Detroit's a good game.
Oh my goodness!
Right? You got the Chargers at Tennessee, which is a solid game too. Kansas City's at Jacksonville, which is another good one. Oh. Yeah, I mean, there's some big time games, man. Now the Jets Dallas game looks a little bit different, obviously, without Aaron Rodgers. There's no question about that, but. Miami at New England is the Sunday night game. And then we get a double dip on Monday, New Orleans at Carolina, and then the Browns at the Steelers.
Can you imagine Zach Wilson now under center facing that Dallas pass rush? Can you imagine that?
No.
If I'm him, I'm going to church the rest of this week every night saying more prayers than I've ever said in my life. And I'm paying my offensive lineman extra because obviously the offensive line is not as stout as people thought it was. And I'm paying my offensive. If I got to buy you a Rolex, a new car, something. Hey, look, I made first round money. I invested my money well. What can I do for you guys to keep that pass rush off me, please?
Yeah.
How can I appease you people to play the best game of your lives this Sunday?
Let me give you some numbers here, Derek, from week 1 ratings wise. So CBS led the way of the channels. They averaged 21.35 million viewers for the second half of its doubleheader.
Jeez.
Which we know what it was, right? The Eagles was the game that was highlighted of those 3 games. That's the most watched week 1 window since 2015 for them. So the Eagles game did quite well for them, obviously. The early half of the doubleheader drew 12.8 million for the 4 games. That's down big from a year ago. So the second portion of the schedule yesterday or Sunday for them did well, but not necessarily the early part. 21.8 watched the Cowboys. I'm sure they dipped out pretty quickly, but it peaked at that. Cowboys Giants. That's down big from last year because I think the game stunk in a lot of ways. Last year they had 25.1 million for the Cowboys Bucks. But Thursday's game did well. The Lions Chiefs was up big from last year. They came in at 27.5. So, man, people, you wonder why they get these kind of network deals and all that. You're seeing why. They draw.
So let me ask you this: you have a free Sunday, a free NFL Sunday.
Yes.
And out of all the matchups you just mentioned, which game piques your interest the most? If you could, we don't even know which games the networks are going to show this week. Which game piques your interest the most?
I would say the early. I'll give you 1 o'clock and then a 4:25 because then the other games are just with the Sunday night and the Monday night games. I would go early. I would go. Damn, I'm torn between Seattle and Detroit and Baltimore and Cincy. I probably go Baltimore Cincy in the 1 o'clocks.
I think from the 1 o'clock games, I need to see Seattle, Detroit.
Okay. And then 4 o'clock, I'm going. I really love the 4 o'clocks, actually.
No, wait. Back it up. The 1 o'clock games, I thought just no. The 1 o'clock games, it's mandatory. I see the Chiefs and the Jaguars.
That'd be a good one. Yeah, Andy and Doug. Yeah.
I thought that was a later game. I just looked at the schedule right now.
Yeah.
That is the only game, the early game I want to see. And yes, Rob, that includes the Packers Falcons. I want to see the Chiefs Jaguars at 1 o'clock.
All right, fair enough. I guess for the 4 o'clocks, it would have been the Jets and the Cowboys. Probably San Fran and the Rams. Rams played well last week.
Yeah, they did with a bunch of no names, and it's a divisional game. Let's see. You got the Giants Cardinals. I don't want to see that mess.
No.
The Jets Cowboys, only because that Jets defense is going to make life miserable for Dak Prescott.
Yeah. Can they contain that Cowboys offense?
Yes.
Can it look similar?
I'm going Jets Cowboys for the 4:25 game.
Okay. I think the Sunday night game's great. I want to see Miami if they can go nuts again offensively against New England. That's
against
the
Belichick's defense.
Yeah, it's not so much that I think New England's great, but I want to see that. I want to see if they can go off against them. And then, the Monday double dip, it's okay. It's New Orleans at Carolina. I'll watch because I want to see what Bryce Young looks like. I actually like the later game. I like Cleveland at Pittsburgh. So
yes, the Browns Steelers game is that I used to have to make that hour-and-a-half drive every season going to Cleveland, covering that Steelers Browns game, and those games get nasty, and I mean real nasty in terms of not just the players but the fan base as well. They do not like each other. Steelers obviously have the traditional history, the Browns do not, but it's still always a grudge match. It's the Hatfields versus the McCoys. And I think, especially the Steelers, Mike Tomlin, I guarantee you Mike Tomlin is using a lot of words that are not in Webster's dictionary at his team this week to get them ready for that game at home against the Browns.
Yeah, that was un-Steelers-esque. It was very much not like them. Like you're going to lose, and you could lose to a really good San Francisco team, but to not show up the way that they did is not like them. I don't think they lose 2 games in a row at home. Let me put it to you that way. And they're underdogs in this game, Derek. To Cleveland.
What?
I like Pittsburgh in that game.
Oh, that's going to that's going to tick
banged up too. They're banged up, but I still like them.
Yeah, that's going to tick off. You see, that's adding another log to the fire right there.
Yep.
Yeah, I can't wait to see that one. I want to see Derek Carr under center in that Saints offense.
Yeah.
It didn't produce a lot of points week 1, but just enough to get a win. But I want to see Derek Carr in that offense. But I definitely want to see that knockdown drag out between the Browns and the Steelers.
Yeah, that one's going to be fun. I think that could get really nasty. You're talking about 2 big time defenses, or at least should be. But we'll see how much the injuries come into play for Pittsburgh. That's for sure. All right. Beyond that, Derek, Phillies split yesterday in a doubleheader. Stop me if you've heard this before. Bryce Harper brings him back with a dramatic home run, and the bullpen gives it up again. If I'm him, I'm telling you, man. If I'm Harper, I'm like, really, guys. This is 3 times now he's done this. 2 outs, down 2. Turner beats it out. Harper goes yard, gets you into extras, and the bullpen can't take care of their business. It is so frustrating. That was the early game.
And who blows it for him? Alvarado.
He's untrustworthy.
Now, this is the same guy that we talked about back in June and July who should be a candidate for the closer. But what I've watched of him in August into September, he's out. I don't trust Soto. I don't trust Alvarado. And these are guys that throw 97, 98, 99. I don't trust either one of them in a big situation now, Rob. I don't.
Mm-hmm. I don't either.
I don't know what it is. And unless you can get me 5 or 6 Zach Wheelers. Now, Suarez looked good. He looked good for a minute. But I I can't trust any of them, Rob. I don't. Relievers or starters outside of Zach. Now some people will say, well, what about Taiwan? He's 15-5. They're 20-7 when he starts. Yeah, they hit the ball when he starts. It's not like he's pitching great. They're hitting the ball when he starts.
I don't trust Taiwan Walker at all. Let me be real clear. He's
People
lucky to have a record.
He's 15-5.
Yeah, because they score a ton of runs for him every time. He's very lucky. He's like it works the other way too. There's a guy who could pitch his tail off, have a great ERA, and his win-loss record stinks because nobody gives him any run support. That happened, with Cole Hamels a lot when he was at the Phillies, whatever. I don't trust Taiwan Walker. Frankly, Derek, the way this is shaping up, unless they get through whatever this is, if this is some kind of tired arm period, it is going to bite them in the playoffs. I still think they get in the playoffs, but it's going to bite them in the playoffs. And they may not even get the 1 seed in the wild card if this keeps up because the Cubs are nipping at their heels.
Yes. Now, I'm going to put you under the gun. Outside of Wheeler, and you have to pick 3. Give me 3 Phillies pitchers you trust right now.
I would go.
Can't go Walker. Can't use Walker.
I would go Suarez.
Wheeler. I'm sorry. Wheeler. I'm sorry.
Wheeler, Suarez. Wheeler. Oh, I can't even use Wheeler. Okay, 3. I will go Suarez. Hoffman. I can't even believe I'm saying this. Suarez, Hoffman. Oof. Sanchez. I'm going to go Suarez, Hoffman, Sanchez. That's not good. That's who I'm going with.
You went with. You said Sanchez.
Well, Suarez has been up and down and banged up all year. Sanchez wasn't even a starter early in the season. Wasn't even with the team. Neither was Hoffman. It tells you a lot about Nola. It tells you a lot about Taiwan Walker. Even Lorenzen, Derek, in the nightcap. So Lorenzen last night, 5 innings, 4 runs. He's got a 7.96 ERA since that no-hitter.
Jeez.
He's been awful since the no-hitter. And then Nola in his last 8 games has a 5.86 ERA.
What is going on with Lorenzen in particular? I don't get it, man. I don't get it. I understand. When you step to the mound against the Braves lineup, okay, you're less than 50-50 likely of having a good day because they're going to do one thing in particular. They're going to have multiple home runs in the game.
Yeah,
as we've seen in these games. But you make a mistake against this lineup from top to bottom, it's like pitchers that make mistakes against this Phillies lineup. They're going to tattoo you all over the field. I don't understand what his problem has been, where his head has been. If anything, he should have been on cloud 9 and oozing with confidence after that no-hitter. It's been downhill ever since. Mm-hmm. And I never thought I would see that.
I didn't either. And the thing is, it's not like he just came over to the Phillies, threw the no-hitter, wasn't pitching great. He was great with the Tigers. The Tigers stunk. And he wasn't, getting great run support there either. But he had been pitching really well.
Yes.
And I'm sorry, man. Like, I am not going to blame 124 pitches on this guy collapsing for the next 5 or 6 games. We got to get over and past this.
No. We understand that the managers and pitching coaches like to put a pitch count on pitchers, but you know what? They're not pitching every night. They're pitching every 5th and 6th day.
Yeah.
You have plenty of recovery time. You see the guys that right after game, they put the ice on their arms and make sure they control possible inflammation in the arm. You have they work out with light weights to keep the muscles and the tendons limber for the next 4 or 5 days before they pitch again. If you pitch 124 pitches once an entire season, unless you tear something in that arm, you should be good to go.
Yeah.
Period.
It's not valid. If you wanted to give me the next game, okay, he couldn't go as long. Okay, whatever. That's fine. That I'll accept it. But it's been too long where he's just been bad. And, they'll keep telling you his stuff's good, et cetera, but I'm sorry. It's not acceptable what's going on with him. But the problem is it's collective other than Wheeler. It's collective in the starting rotation and the bullpen. Everybody on the back end. I mean, Kimbrel looked good last night in the cap, in the nightcap. So maybe he's figured something out or he got through his tired arm or whatever. But I right now I need to see more before I fully trust him. I don't trust Alvarado. I don't trust Sir Anthony. I don't trust Soto. I don't, we can go on and on and on. There's no one you feel. There's no one who takes the ball in a game that's relatively close that you feel good about.
You know, the last time we said that about Kimbrel, he came back the next outing and bombed out. You know, and he was Mr. Consistency. And you're right, I don't trust him either right now. You know, and they're, you know, somebody's, if it's another close game tonight like it was last night, somebody's going to have to step to the hill tonight and try to save face for the Phillies. Now we know Rob Thompson. You know, well, if so and so pitched the night before, I don't want to use him again the next night. You got to get past that.
Oh yeah.
It's all hands on deck now.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and you're right. They're going to make the playoffs, but you want that number one seed as a wild card. You want to get that advantage at least in one series somehow, some way.
Yeah. The shame of it is there's some really impressive offensive performances happening right now. Like Turner went yard again. He's homered in 10 of his last 11 games. Yes. And I was saying this to you before the show, Derek. If you look at his stats lately, he's up to 25 home runs, 73 runs driven in. He's got 156 hits. He's got 5 triples. He's got 31 doubles. He scored 93 runs. The average is almost at 270. I mean, for a guy who started off he was in the 230s as badly as he did.
Yeah.
He's going to finish with damn good numbers.
You know, when Tom McCarthy said that on the broadcast last night, that's his 10th homer in 11th games, I went right to my computer and looked, and I was shocked. I didn't know he had 25 homers, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I swear, I thought he was around 18, 19. I didn't know he was up to 25.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But he is stinging the ball now. The last several weeks, he has been stinging the ball.
Yep. Everything's hit hard. His powers return. You know, everything's there right now. And Derek, don't look now. Guess what? Kyle Schwarber, 201, baby.
Yes. Yes.
201. Yes.
The Mendoza line. Yes.
He's over it, man. He's over it. But he really has hit, all joking aside, he's been not just the home run all or nothing guy lately. He's actually getting base hits in addition to everything else. So he's up to 201, but 43 home runs, 94 runs driven in. He's over 100 hits. He's at 99 runs, which is what you want out of your leadoff guy. So, you know, kind of unconventionally putting together a pretty darn good season for himself now, Schwarber.
You know, we talked about how he is so unconventional as a leadoff hitter, but how many leadoff hitters generate the type of power that he does? You just don't see it.
Yep.
I would still like to see him. It's not going to happen because of who they already have. I would love to see him in a 3 or 4 hole and let, you know, maybe move Harper up and, you know, Turner up to 1, Harper to 2, you know, the way they're getting on base right now, and put that man at number 3, even as a 200 hitter.
Yeah.
I mean, that's automatic. That's the automatic RBIs for this dude lately.
Yeah.
But I understand why it works the way they're working now. I'm looking forward to seeing this game tonight.
Good matchup. It's Wheeler against Fried. So it's a good pitching matchup. But man, I'll tell you, for a second to give Atlanta some props here. Not that they need it, everybody knows, but how about Olsen? Olsen's got 50 home runs.
Oh my goodness.
Woof. I mean, they let Freddie Freeman walk and they plugged this guy in, and he just goes crazy.
Every night when I'm looking at baseball box scores, his name's popping up.
Yeah.
I mean, if there's a sultan of SWAT right now, it's this dude. You know, the way he's hitting homer, and how many has he hit so far in this series? 1 or 2?
2.
Was it 2 in this series? I know Harris has had a couple in this series.
Yeah, 2 last night, right? Didn't he have 2 yesterday?
I thought he did. I thought he had 1 in each game.
And that's what it might have been what it was. Yeah. I'm trying to remember. The 2 of the games are running together now. I'll pull up the box score.
You're talking about power beyond power. But my goodness. And such a beautiful swing, man. When he connects, oh my goodness.
Yeah. But any lefty has that sort of majestic, you know, just unbelievable with that, with a Griffey, you know, back in the day, whatever. I think he hit, what did he hit? 2 in the second game, I believe.
Was it the second game?
Acuna and Harris went yard in the first game.
Okay.
Yeah. And how about the throw by Acuna?
Dude.
After he can't, he misplays it because he can't see it, just to pick it up and unload that cannon.
And throws it on a fly home.
Oh.
I mean, he loses the ball. Luckily for him, it dropped in front of him, didn't roll one way or the other, just dead right there in front of him. He picks it up in one motion, strike to the plate.
Yeah, incredible.
I mean,
He's the most. I'm not telling you he's the best player. Ohtani's going to win the MVP, right? Okay,
right.
But in terms of just like position player talent, not the combo pitcher hitter, it's Acuna is to me the most talented guy. I mean, he'll drive you nuts sometimes with some of the antics and everything, but in terms of just pure talent, I don't think anybody matches him.
Hitting, base running, he has over 60 steals.
Power,
hitting,
speed.
35, 36 homers, over 60 stolen bases. In terms of power, base running ability, and just overall athleticism, I think arguably he's the most complete player in baseball right now.
Yeah. He's incredible.
I'm like, who would be? Ohtani's a phenomenal player, no question about that. But
right.
I think Acuna is the most complete player in the game right now.
Incredible what he's doing. So look, they're 3-5 against the Braves this year. If they can get these last two today and tomorrow, obviously they'll be 500 against them. Not that they're catching them, but you want to also just make them think a little bit if you get them in the playoffs.
Yeah.
The offense is doing it. Derek, I said to you a couple weeks ago, Harper's the most clutch guy I've seen in wear a Philadelphia uniform. I mean, you could say Nick Foles for what he did in a 2 or 3 game stretch. But Harper, since he's been a Philly, every big moment, I mean, he's up to the task.
Yes.
And it's unbelievable. He did it again yesterday.
Yes, I agree with you 100%. I agree. I'm trying to figure out what other athlete in Philadelphia compares.
I mean, Hurts played great in the Super Bowl. It's a shame he had the one mistake, but it was the one game. There isn't a Sixer that's like that. There's not a Flyer that's like that.
Let's see. I'm going back. Let's see.
I'm talking current day. I'm just trying to think of like.
I'm just comparing athletes across the board. Dr. J, Allen Iverson, Mike Schmidt, Dawkins. In terms of being just clutch, I can't think of anybody other than Harper. I really can't.
I can't either, man. I don't know. I said to you before too. I can't believe he's lived up to the hype because he has.
Yeah.
He has. He's lived up to 13 years, 330 million. It's almost impossible, but he's done it. And there's something to be said for that. It's crazy how good he's been.
And on top of that, this year he's had to kind of reinvent himself because he's playing first base, which is not a natural position for him. Yeah. Now he's played it well. I'll give him that. He's played it well, and he played some first base, I believe, in the minors, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't think he even did that, Derek. I don't think so.
I thought there was another level of ball where he played some first base.
Maybe he was a catcher originally. Maybe he did. Yeah.
Okay, but the fact that he's had to reinvent himself and he's playing first base now and plays it well, I'm telling you, man, this dude. You talk about Mr. Baseball.
Mm-hmm.
We're watching Mr. Baseball in Philadelphia.
Yeah, I can't believe what he does, and they are very much they're frustrating right now with what's going on with the pitching, but they're a fun team to watch, and it's a shame. You wish you could get the arms and the bats on the same page at the same time. Early in the year, it was the pitchers, keeping them afloat. Now it's the bats keeping them afloat, and they need to both get on the same page. The good news is, you're looking to take a series lead, and you have Zach Wheeler going tonight, who's been by far their best pitcher, and a great free agent pickup in general, for sure, because they got him for a very good deal. That's for sure, from a Mets team that's been an absolute disaster, and he's been awesome, and looking for him to keep it going. But all right, let me give you the standings here. As I mentioned earlier, they go into action tonight. They're clinging to a 1.5 game lead right now over the Cubs, who are playing very well. For sure. But it's the Diamondbacks are right now the third place team. The Giants and the Marlins are a 1.5 games back of the Diamondbacks, and Cincinnati's 2 games back of the Diamondbacks. So there's a lot of baseball there. I think they have 18 games left. They're 79 and 65. There's just 18 games. So we're under 20 games left. Yeah. And here's what they have the rest of the way. So you have 2 more against Atlanta. This is a 4-game series. Yep. Smartly, they're off Thursday, which is good with the Eagles playing. And then they start a weekend series coming out of that at St. Louis, who's been bad this year.
Yeah, awful. Just awful.
Friday, Saturday, Sunday, it's at St. Louis. Then they go to Atlanta Monday through Wednesday.
Oh,
yeah, it's tough. And then they're back home after that, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday with the Mets, then 3 with the Pirates. Then you close it out at the Mets for 3. That's what they have coming up. That's the rest of the season.
dude, that last, what, 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 games are all Pirates. Now, I will say this. The Pirates are a pesky bunch.
Yeah.
They're out of it, but you know what? They rise up and give teams with winning records a problem. You know, they played the Braves tough. They took 2 out of 3 from the Brewers. The Mets, I don't know what to make of the Mets, but the Pirates are not an easy out, you know, night in and night out.
No. They and look, all those teams are looking at it like, hey, we want to stick it to the Phillies.
Sure.
Yeah, we want to play spoiler.
And you got a lot of guys playing for jobs also.
Absolutely. Makes perfect sense. All right, let's get a timeout, Derek. Let's talk some football when we get back. We'll look back at the big story, which is obviously Aaron Rodgers, but there's a lot of other stuff happening around the league, which we will delve into. So don't go anywhere. That's Derek Gunn. I am Rob Ellis. We are Sports Take, JAKIB Sports YouTube Network. Our Flynn Tree Services is an experienced and licensed and insured Pennsylvania tree services company that will trim or remove any unwanted trees off of your property. They offer cost-effective solutions to any tree problem that you may face. They are experts at trimming all types of trees, and they serve southeastern Pennsylvania, South Jersey, and northern Delaware. Flynn Tree Services specializes in tree removal, stump grinding, as well as tree pruning. Now, keep in mind, storm, hurricane season, we get kind of a mixed bag now, all right? It's a great time to get your trees evaluated. You can go to their Facebook or Instagram page for more information or a sampling of their work. Give Flynn Tree Services a call. 610-850-2848, 610-850-2848, or online at flynntreeservices.com. That's flynntreeservices.com.
Go passionately. Go fearlessly. Go confidently.
Go Birds!
Go confidently towards your goals with First Trust, Philly's hometown bank for nearly 90 years, and the official bank of the Philadelphia Eagles. We're focused on getting you over the goal line. So go with conviction. Go with trust.
Go Birds!
And go forward with us by your side. First Trust Bank, the official bank of Philadelphia dreams. Oh, and go Birds.
The greatest fans on earth. It's a bold statement, but would you expect anything less from Philadelphia? 58 years of heartache creates a toughness, a grit, a resolve not found in most. Sure, our prayers were answered, but now that we've had a taste, we're looking for more. Pondley Hockey, official partner of the Philadelphia Eagles.
Go to get your game on. Go for the beers. Go for the cheers. Go for the hit and the hits. Go for the stakes and the stakes. Go to get your parlay on. Go to get your party on. Go for the scene. Go for the screens. Go for the gallery. Go for the win. Go to Ocean. Visit theoceanac.com to plan your visit.
EAGLES. Eagles.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Rob Ellis, Derek Gunn, hanging out with you. We are Sports Take. All right, Derek. So, update from the Eagles. They have signed Nicholas Morrow to the active roster. They signed Rashaan Evans to the practice squad, and they placed Nakobe Dean on the injured reserve. None of it surprising.
4 games.
Right, yeah, exactly. That means locked in now. He will not be playing in the next 4 games. Nicholas Morrow, who was initially cut, then brought back to the practice squad, is now active, and Rashaan Evans, who was originally a high pick in the NFL, is on the practice squad. So you definitely took a hit depth-wise at a position that you were already pretty thin at.
So let me see now. We're looking at Nicholas Morrow, Christian Ellis, Zach Cunningham, and Rashaan Evans.
Yep.
We got a problem.
Yeah, it's not good enough. Look, you knew it was questionable to begin with.
Yeah. We got a problem. We got a major problem at linebacker. And if that's what they're going to go with from now until who knows when, that's going to be a big problem. Big time problem. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
And you know, Bradbury not being in this game, that's going to be a problem.
Here's what I'll tell you, Derek. They better get to the quarterback.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I'm telling you. You cannot let Cousins stand back there 4 or 5 seconds patting the ball, looking for Justin Jefferson or Jordan Addison or Hawkinson down the middle.
Yeah.
That's a bad mixture right there, man.
It is. It is. So look, this is also where I do wonder. And again, you know, the problem you run into is if anybody's good enough, why would a team possibly trade him? But I wonder if Howie isn't scouring and talking to some, you know, GMs and trying to figure something out in terms of making a trade. You know, it'll be interesting to see what ends up happening there.
Well, if there was a time where the Eagles could make trades, it would be now. They have 12 draft picks already next year.
Tons for next year. Yep.
You know, with all the compensatory picks they're going to get. They have 12 or 13 draft picks. If there was ever a time you wanted to make a splash trade to get somebody of name as a linebacker, now would be it.
Yep. No question about it. All right. So let's hit a couple things that are going on around the league. Of course, the big story is last night. And we know that Aaron Rodgers torn Achilles, done for the season. You know, certainly just mind-blowing that the guy played 3 plays and then on the next one he blows out his Achilles. They did win the game somehow, some way on a walk-off punt return. But, you know, the fact that they hung around enough, yeah, they deserve some props, you know, for sure, for what they were able to do. But now all of a sudden, that just throws into question everything for them for the rest of the season in what is a difficult division with a tough game coming up next against the Cowboys.
Can you imagine Robert Saleh, Joe Douglas, and the ownership of the Jets sitting behind closed doors this morning like this? Nobody's saying anything. Right. Everybody's like this.
Yeah.
Nothing's being said.
I was watching Good Morning Football, and Peter Schrager, who's one of their hosts, they come on, I think it's 7, something like that. He said that he had been texting with several Jets coaches who hadn't slept all night, who were so distraught over what happened.
Jeez.
And that, you know, it's tough. You know, it's tough.
It's the unknown element of the game that just drives you crazy, but it's an unknown element that you know you have to deal with. Every team deals with it. You hope you can marginalize it by not losing your big money players, especially when they're perennial Pro Bowlers, future Hall of Fame type players. But it happens. You know, it happens. They know it. You just cross your fingers and pray that it doesn't happen. Unfortunately, this one hits the Jets right between the eyes.
Yeah, so they're they're certainly reeling after that one. That's for sure. With the Jets, so we'll keep you posted if they make any move in terms of bringing in a quarterback. There's a couple different ways that they could go with this thing. Adam Kaplan, who we had on a little bit earlier, suggested maybe Flacco comes back again. Which there's the problem is, Derek. You know, we could sit here. We mentioned Matt Ryan, and you know, people are going to throw Brady's name out. Like there's just, I don't think Brady's realistic, and there's just not a lot of good options.
There's nothing out there. I mean, you
Yeah.
think about it. There's nothing out there. Dude. Whoever they bring back, it has to be somebody that can possibly challenge Zach Wilson.
Oh, for sure.
I'm thinking, you know what I would consider? Colt McCoy.
Yes.
I would consider Colt McCoy.
Good name.
You know, been around the block a few times, can read a defense, has a decent arm. I would bring him in, put him on the practice squad, let him get acclimated for a couple of weeks in this offensive system, and then elevate him. If Zach Wilson struggles like we expect him to struggle, then nobody in the New York region will cringe if they make the announcement that Colt McCoy is not a starting quarterback.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, it definitely. There's some they're talking about potentially trading for Jameis Winston,
or Bridgewater,
or Bridgewater. Yeah, but our team's going to be willing to give up their insurance policy. Because here's the thing: if you're one of those teams, Bridgewater's in Detroit and Jameis Winston's in New Orleans. Think about if your guy is just out a game or two.
Yeah.
That's how you're viewing this. Like, all right, I just got to get through a couple games. And if you get through a couple games, look at the Eagles last year. You can be all right. So I'm not going to be real quick to give those guys up.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm just saying.
I agree. You're talking about two teams who want to change around their culture compared to what they went through last year.
Yeah.
And they feel they have the MO. Saints are happy with their new quarterback. Everybody's got pumping their chest in Detroit because they took down the defending Super Bowl champs. Sky's the limit for both teams right now. Saints playing a bad division. Detroit's playing a weakened division as well. They have everything they need to get to where they want to go. First step is get to the playoffs. Both teams have everything they need to get to where they want to go. You're right. Giving up that kind of depth, their insurance policies, it would take a lot. And even then, is it worth it for those teams?
Yeah, because if you feel like you have any legit, like Detroit believes in what they have, right? And New Orleans, I think, believes in what they have. Whatever. If you're one of those teams, I don't know. I think you want to probably hang on to those guys. All right. Other issues around the NFL. Chris Jones got paid, Derek. He stuck it out, man. Even if it's 1 year, it's more than he would have made. So he would have originally gotten about $19 million under the contract that he was in the last year of. He's going to make, could make up to $26 million this year with the Chiefs. He signed a 1-year deal just for this year. He lost $1 million last week sitting that Thursday night game out, but he could make up obviously all the fines and everything else with what he's, bringing in this year.
Well, obviously after that first game, Kansas City finally said, you know what, enough's enough. He might have been a difference maker in that game also. I mean, again, Kansas City's defense played well against that Detroit offense.
Yeah. It
wasn't a defense that cost them the game. It was their wide receivers playing with oven mitts on that cost them the game. Plain and simple.
Yeah.
Even without Kelsey, they should have won that game.
Yep.
You hold Detroit, your defense without Chris Jones holds Detroit to 14 offensive points. That's a very winnable situation, especially in your backyard. In one fluke, ricochet interception is the difference in that ball game.
Totally.
One of the two big differences, I should say.
Yeah, 100%. You're right. He was let down in a very big way. He certainly was, Pat Mahomes. But they get him back, and that's already a defense that's good. That's a monster thing for them. And again, props to their defense who played very well. You're right.
Yes,
they played very well in that game. But now they get Chris Jones back, and he's expected to play this week. He was working out in Miami. All right, Pittsburgh's got some injury issues here. So Cameron Hayward is going to miss several weeks with a groin injury, Derek. Deontay Johnson also out for what they're terming as weeks with a hamstring to both of those guys.
Jeez.
Yeah.
As if their luck isn't bad enough. And they're trying to change things around this week against a divisional rival. Pittsburgh's defense is going to have to carry that game.
Yeah,
they're going to have to carry that game for them, And
George Pickens is going to have to go crazy.
Yeah, Pickens is going to have, well, Kenny's got to get him the ball, but you're right. Pickens has to go crazy, and that defense has to be. I think T.J. Watt had 3 sacks in that first game, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't know the exact number. Maybe, yeah.
He's gonna have to get some help this week for sure, and try to keep that game as low scoring as possible.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, that they're not quite in the desperation the Jets are defensively, but Pittsburgh's got to step their game up because it's going to take their offense. You're right. He had 3 sacks. It's going to take their offense a little while to get going, man. Yeah, he had 3 sacks. He had 5 quarterback hits. I mean, he's in rare form. So that's going to be how they win games. And the other thing is, I just think it really does come down to Pickett, because I think Tom will have him ready this week. I don't see any way that they're not ready to play after how horrible that was. The Niners just, if it wasn't for the Giants laying down to the Cowboys, that might have been the other beatdown, second worst beatdown of the week.
I expect to see more bad football this week as well.
Yeah.
Not as bad as week 1. It's going to be a slow progression in the right direction for a lot of teams. Unfortunately for teams like the Eagles and the Vikings, they have the short turnaround. The other teams have the extended week to get some of the problems right. Those that didn't win games, and even those who won games, to get some of the problems right. So I hope to see a much better brand of football on Sunday. One of those rare Sundays we get off.
Yeah.
But yeah, when you look at the names across the board who have gone down for teams already after 1 week, it's frightening in terms of what's to come.
Yeah. I'll give you another great example. Jacoby Myers, who had an unbelievable game.
Yes.
He was awesome for the Raiders.
Yes.
He's in concussion protocol now.
Jeez.
And they don't know if he's going to play on Sunday. Devontae Adams had a tough game. He had some drops, very uncharacteristic of him, et cetera. And, Myers picked up the slack. So it's that's a loss. That could be a loss.
And who are the Raiders playing this week?
I think we just talked about it, Tim. I think it was one of the
division
games. One of those decent games. All right. So what the Raiders this week, hold on. Okay, here we go. Raiders are at Buffalo.
At Buffalo. Okay.
It's a big game.
And not having Jacoby Myers.
Well, we don't know, but yeah. I mean, at least they have until Sunday. The Eagles only have till Thursday for that turnaround.
Yeah, exactly.
Stay with the injury thing here real quick. So the Ravens have elevated Melvin Gordon due to the J.K. Dobbins torn Achilles, who's out for the season. It's not a bad guy to be able to pluck off your practice squad.
No, but the concern about Melvin Gordon is, has he seen his better days?
I think that the answer is yes to that.
But you have no choice now but to rely on him in a situation like that. So it was good for them in terms of adding him in terms of depth, but what is he going to give you? What does he have left? I mean, he's only 30, but still, for running backs, 30 is old nowadays. Especially if you're a running back that has had as many carries as a Melvin Gordon has had in his career. There was a lot of time he was a feature back. I mean, early in his career, 254, 284 in terms of carries. 2020, 215, 2021, 203.
Right.
He only played 10 games last year, had 90 carries last year. So he should be fresher, but he's still 30 years old. And I don't think he's the back he was 4 or 5 years ago. And that's not a knock against him. It's just a natural progression of age as an NFL player.
No, I agree. And look, he was a bell cow for a while, and that catches up to you. There's no doubt about that. This was interesting. The Pete Carroll and DK Metcalf had a heart-to-heart about the penalties that DK seems to be taking way too much of in his career. So he's had, Derek, 8 career unsportsmanlike or unnecessary roughing penalties, which have led to disqualifications in games. And he had a couple big ones this past week that were late. So teams are now baiting him. And he even said it after the game. He said, look, their sidelines yapping at me, and I took the bait, and we know what happens. They get the guy who retaliates. So I think he realizes it, but Pete Carroll was pretty blunt about it. Like, he talked about it on his radio show and said, we love DK, but this can't keep up because it's killing us.
No, and especially if it happens at crucial junctures of a game. Yep. DK's been in the game long enough. I'm surprised he lets this stuff get to him. You talk about a physical specimen who plays the game physically. DK Metcalf is as physical as it comes at wide receivers. But the fact that he knows that teams are baiting him and still gets involved in jaw jacking to the point where he's getting these penalties, I'm like, dude, what is wrong with you? What the heck is wrong with you? You know what they're trying to do. Why do you keep falling for this crap?
Right. That's the problem. Like the problem is like nobody is fully blamed. We know people are taking cheap shots. We get it, but they're going to do that. Some backup corner or safety, he gets tossed. I'll take that. It's a win all day if DK gets tossed. You know what I'm saying? And teams know that, so they're just going to keep getting on him. He's got to be smarter. There's no other way to put. You can't have him not in the game for you if you're the Seattle Seahawks, plain and simple. So he's got to be better.
A coach shouldn't have to talk to him about this stuff, and yet here it is. You know, it tells me there's a volatile nature within him that has not been completely controlled yet.
Well said. But yeah, and look, part of that is what you love because he is a crazy competitor. We saw one of the great plays you'll ever see is him chasing down that guy after the interception. It's one of the greatest plays you'll ever see. So you know his heart's in it, but he's just got to be better. He's just got to be smarter than that.
Yeah.
All right, a couple other odds and ends here. I forgot to mention this to you. So the Jets' odds to win the Super Bowl went from 16-1 to 35-1, and I'm surprised, Derek, it didn't fall more.
I am too.
Tell you.
To be honest with you, I am too. I thought it would be like maybe 100-1 by now.
Right.
You know, and I'm going to be honest. I mean, let's be honest. Without Aaron Rodgers, I don't even know if they win more games than they lose, to be honest.
Yeah. I mean, again, I hate to keep going back to this, but it really does remind me of 1991.
Yeah.
It's because that Eagles team across the board, Derek, number one in points, number one in defense against the rush, number one in defense against the pass. Seth Joyner played on that team. He'll tell you about it. They did everything they could. They won 10 games with Jeff Kemp and Pat Ryan and Ken O'Brien, with just dudes playing quarterback. And they didn't get into the playoffs because the NFC was really good that year. And we didn't have as many wild card teams, but it didn't matter. When Randall went down, the offense just couldn't do anything. And I really, it's going to suck for Garrett Wilson because he's going to be wasted in a lot of ways, I think.
Man, that's a shame. I mean, and again, we're not Jets fans, but it's like you just wanted to see it. You just wanted to see it evolve and what it looked like.
Yeah.
And now it's like, and it's funny. You look at the comments, a lot of comments across social media, and a lot of people who are not Jets fans, but were fans of this hype train that has been moving forward at such a rapid pace since late April.
Right. Now
it's been derailed. And like, man,
Yeah, and I don't I feel for Jet. I can appreciate it. Like we always as Philadelphia fans feel like we're the cursed ones, right?
Yep.
It's always something bad's going to happen. It's inevitable, whatever. This is a minute where you take a step back and you say, that team's cursed.
Jeez.
You know what I mean? Like you want to talk about cursed, they're cursed. But anyway, yeah, so that's tough. That's tough. This one's a sad one, Gunner. Mike Williams.
Oh, yeah.
Remember he hung around as a receiver in the NFL for a few years. Passed away at the age of 36. He was in intensive care in a hospital in Tampa. He got hurt on a construction site. He's just trying to make a couple bucks. It left him paralyzed, and he ended up passing away from it. He had 223 catches, 3,000 yards, 26 catches in his career. He played for Tampa and Buffalo, and just sad, just sad. The guy's taken so young. It's tough.
36 years old. He has an 8-year-old daughter. And that's really sad. His daughter and him will never have that bond again.
Yeah.
The guy's just trying to make a living,
Yeah. It's hard. It's tough. More injuries to hit you with. And it's a shame because I really like this guy as a player. J.C. Horn.
Yes.
Corner for the Panthers. He was just 18 games his first 2 seasons with injuries.
Always
he's not going to play. Yeah, he's not playing Monday night. He's another guy with a hamstring.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Again?
And they think he's going to be out multiple weeks.
And he's a really good cornerback also.
Yeah. Yep.
My goodness, these hamstring injuries this year, man, are like, it's almost like COVID, It's like you can't stop across the league. Everybody's coming up with hamstrings.
Yep.
Green Bay's number 1 receiver, Christian Watkins, didn't play because of a hamstring injury. And it goes back to what all these old players are saying, the soft tissue injuries are because they don't train the way they're supposed to properly train to get to a regular season.
Yep. All right. So, we always talk about how we're worried about the Eagles return game and all that. And it was fine on Sunday. There wasn't a major issue, but NFL rules makers in week 1, they changed things up with you could fair catch now, the kickoff and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
They had an historically low 20.5% kickoff return rate. Yeah. So the reason they're doing this is they want to avoid the big hits on kick returns. But isn't that crazy, man? The touchback rate was 77.6%.
Which means they're getting what they want. They don't want those collisions. I remember when we first started talking about what they're doing to negate the run backs, and then the studies come out about how many of the head trauma injuries that are not talked about that are related to the collisions in kickoff, the coverage team and the return team. And that was when they jumped up and said, we got to do something to lower that. And they have done a good job of that. From our perspective, of growing up in the days of watching some of the most phenomenal return guys get the ball to goal line and trying to weave his way upfield.
Yeah.
I miss those moments. Those moments are so few and far between now because 90% of everything is a touchback, but the players are staying healthier, and that's the most important thing, I guess.
Yes. So I don't know if you saw any of this, but Jim Trotter, who was a longtime NFL reporter, he won the Pro Football Hall of Fame's 2023 Bill Nunn Award.
Okay.
He has sued the NFL over his firing from the NFL Network.
What?
Technically, he wasn't renewed, but I mean, whatever. He wasn't renewed, but he's now with the Athletic. But he filed a lawsuit in the U.S. Southern District of New York that names the NFL, NFL Enterprises, and NFL Network Services as the defendants. And he recounts the NFL's alleged history of systematic discrimination over the years. Kaepernick, some of the stuff with John Gruden, the lawsuit that Brian Flores has filed, et cetera.
Right.
So he's going hard after the NFL here, Gunner.
Well, you know what? If you feel you got a leg to stand on, why not?
Yep.
He's two things: he's going to win or lose, and if he wins, he's going to look real good in the end.
Yeah.
I don't blame him. Unless there was justifiable cause. I mean, as a network, and we're in the business, Rob.
Right.
You get a job, you get fired. It's a numbers game.
Yeah.
Now, if he's going after them, there's got to be a specific reason why. And even if a company tells you, "Hey, we're going to renew you," and don't, that's their prerogative.
Yep. I've been lied to.
Same here.
Mm-hmm.
Same here. No question.
And I'm not comparing myself to Jim Trotter. I'm just saying, to your point, I've had higher ups promise me things, and then suddenly it goes bye-bye. So it has happened.
Yes, I agree with you 100%. And you know what? They can get away with it because they can.
Yeah.
Now, it's on you whether or not you feel you have a strong enough leg to stand on the challenge. Okay?
Now, let me throw this out there because the Pagulas who own the Bills shot back and denied this, but this was in the filings that Jim Trotter put in there. He said during a meeting, an NFL media reporter described a conversation he had with Bills owner Terry Pegula, in which Mr. Pegula was speaking out about the recent emphasis on social activism by NFL players, in particular Black Lives Matter. As reported, Mr. Pegula said that if Black players don't like it, they can go back to Africa and see how bad it is.
Oh, no.
Okay.
No.
All right. Now, Pegula has out now denied that ever happened. There's also reference to Jerry Jones. And Jerry Jones, I'm going to pull up what he said too, if I could find it here. But he's also nailed in this thing too. So it ain't pretty, my man. It ain't pretty. All right, here's what Jerry said. Alleged. Another example, Jerry Jones, owner of the Dallas Cowboys, responded to a question posed by Mr. Trotter regarding the dearth of Black professionals in decision-making positions for NFL teams by stating, quote, if Blacks feel some kind of way, they should buy their own team and hire who they want to hire, unquote. So
Jerry said that?
That's allegedly what Jim Trotter is saying. They're both alleged, okay? I'm just telling you what was in his filing. But yeah, that's what he claims Jerry said.
Now you got two entities doing damage control. That's a tough one, Rob, because there are a lot of players that feel that even as we sit here today in 2023, the NFL is still an old boys network and it's run by old way of thinking. And even though the old way of thinking is smart enough for the most part to not say what they feel, because every topic we discuss nowadays is such a sensitive topic. If those two said that, the NFL has to step in and hit them hard. And I don't know if you're not going to take away their franchises for something like that, but you have to hit them really hard where it hurts. But you got to prove it first. If it's a he said, she said, you're never going to prove that. It's going to go back and forth forever.
That's the thing. I mean, it sounds like he did the interview with Jerry, so he might have that on tape. The other one sounds like it was hearsay. The Pagula one sounds like somebody told him that. So that I don't know how you prove that unless somebody. And in this day and age, everything might be captured. You know what I'm saying? So,
right.
But
Right.
I don't know. I'm just passing it along, and again, that is some powder keg kind of stuff. You know what I mean? Like that. That's some big time stuff.
Those two owners better hope there's no tape trail, paper trail, or something like that.
Yep.
If it's on tape, how do you come back from that in a league where your workforce is more than 70% African American?
I know. It's unbelievable. Hey, I mentioned Cameron Hayward. He's gonna have groin surgery, Derek.
See, he's a great player too.
He is a stud.
It hurts.
Yeah, that's a big time loss. That's a big time loss for Pittsburgh. I hate to see that. I mentioned Deontay Johnson. They're looking at a few weeks there for him. This was interesting. Kirk Cousins did not have a great week one, but as you would expect, his coach has his back. It was a kind of an ugly game. The end of the first half, and their loss. Cousins tried to squeeze one into KJ Osborne at the goal line, and then with the score 10-10, had at least one chance to take a 3-point lead, if not go into the break. Cousins' pass was intercepted. That ended that threat, etc. Look, basically, O'Connell's saying, I want this guy to stay aggressive. He made some mistakes. We understand that. I think he's also saying this in anticipation of the Eagles game because he turned it over 3 times in that game as well.
You have to.
Sure.
You have to. You can't back off. If you start backing off and if you're hesitant and you're shy, you're not going to win that way. You cannot be afraid to make mistakes in this game. Everybody makes mistakes. You just have to come back stronger and smarter. So I agree with 100%. We're not going to change anything. We just have to clean up some things that we didn't do.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And look, Kirk Cousins isn't going anywhere. You know what I mean? It's like he's a free agent at the end of the year, but it's that you're living. He's your guy.
Yeah, you're not going to bench the guy. Who's behind him? Whoever's behind him, you're not putting him in the game. He gives you the best option.
Yeah.
So
I agree with you. Yeah.
He's been around the block too many times. He knows what he did and what he has to do.
Yeah. Yeah, no question. All right, so a couple other odds and ends. I think when you I want to get back to the Jets for a minute. The one thing I would say about that game, do you wonder about this too with Zach Wilson? Like, did he have enough of time sort of out of the spotlight for a minute to sort of reflect, watch how Rodgers goes about things? Like, did he get enough where we're going to see at least a more mature guy? Yeah, that's the thing I don't know. I don't know if it was a long enough respite that he's going to be different from what he was, because I think part of his problem was immaturity. Let's face it.
Yes. If we take him at his word, where he said all ever since Rodgers got there, that I'm learning a wealth of information from this guy, then I expect to see a better quarterback. Now, obviously, putting him in an emergency situation like that against that Buffalo defense, that's a little bit uncomfortable. Like I said, we said he only made one glaring mistake, and he was okay the rest of the way. And he got the job done good enough to help that team get a win. Mm-hmm. But now, moving forward, now that it's his show until further notice, I want to see the improvements that he's been talking about since May into training camp about how Rodgers has helped him become better as a quarterback.
Yeah.
Because if he's not, then the Jets are going to have to make a huge decision in terms of who's quarterbacking this team.
Right. And that's the thing. I think he's going to get at least, what would you figure, 3-4 games rope? Because that will allow you to get somebody in there, get him acclimated to the system. It's giving Wilson some time. You're not just knee jerking him if he has one bad game or one bad series. I think that's about a fair number. Now I'm looking at what the Jets have coming up.
Yeah.
They have Dallas this week, Derek. And once you get past Dallas, schedule wise, after that, it goes, it's not easy here. Then they're home against New England.
Oh,
oof. Home against Kansas City.
Oh, no.
At Denver. Home against the Eagles. Bye week at Giants. That's he's not getting any gimmies there.
Now, before you get to that Giants game, there's a lot of landmines to sidestep.
Damn. Woof.
I would not want to be in that situation, but you know what? You can only move forward. You can't go backwards.
Yeah, man. All right. Let's. That's tough. That is tough. Let's get a timeout in here, Gunner. Let's come back. We got some birthdays. We got some movies. We'll get it back to the birds as well. We got a lot more show in store for you. Don't go anywhere. He is Derek Gunn. I am Rob Ellis. We'll be right back.
I remember getting my heart broken when they lost the Super Bowl in 2004. We were big Eagles fans. We moved to South Philly because of the Eagles. When they won, we went straight to Broad Street, and everybody was going nuts over there, and it was just a memory that you'll never forget.
Go passionately. Go fearlessly. Go confidently.
Go Birds!
Go confidently towards your goals with First Trust, Philly's hometown bank for nearly 90 years, and the official bank of the Philadelphia Eagles. We're focused on getting you over the goal line. So go with conviction. Go with trust.
Go Birds!
And go forward with us by your side. First Trust Bank, the official bank of Philadelphia dreams. Oh, and go Birds.
The greatest fans on earth. It's a bold statement, but would you expect anything less from Philadelphia? 58 years of heartache creates a toughness, a grit, a resolve not found in most. Sure, our prayers were answered, but now that we've had a taste, we're looking for more. Pondley Hockey, official partner of the Philadelphia Eagles.
Go to get your game on. Go for the beers. Go for the cheers. Go for the hit and the hits. Go for the stakes and the stakes. Go to get your parlay on. Go to get your party on. Go for the scene. Go for the screens. Go for the gallery. Go for the win. Go to Ocean. Visit theoceanac.com to plan your visit.
EAGLES, Eagles.
right, we are back. Final segment of the show. That is The Gun. I am Rob Ellis with our Sports Take. All right, here's the Eagles schedule, Gunner, for this week. So today, obviously, it's a walkthrough. It's a 2:15 walkthrough on Tuesday, which is normally much later in the week. Nick Sirianni will meet with the media tomorrow. And then, of course, the game is on Thursday. The biggest thing I think you're trying to do, you're trying to install a game plan while also not overtaxing these guys physically. You're trying to mend the guys who are banged up and the guys who are in pretty decent shape. Just, hey, let's take it as easy as we could possibly take it. And
also trying to figure out who's in and who's out.
Yep.
That's a big dilemma also, because somebody who's in today could be out tomorrow. Somebody who's out tomorrow, out today. You never know. You just don't know. Especially when you're talking about ribs, stuff like that, hammies, soreness and stuff like that. It's tough on a short week, to prepare one for the other. But the fact that this Eagles team could be looking at possibly 2-3 different people in their secondary.
Yeah. It's for just to remind people who don't know, you're dealing with the Kobe Dean already out. He's on the injured reserve. We know that much. But Bradbury's in concussion protocol. Fletcher Cox, we're dealing with ribs. Blankenship dealing with ribs. That's what Eric's referencing there. And then Gainwell's also dealing with ribs. So all these guys are at least a little bit banged up. I mean, the more serious ones are obvious, the Kobe Dean and Bradbury. But, we don't know the extent. It's a pain tolerance thing. And if you know how it is, man. If you have messed up ribs, it affects everything.
I know, man. You
can't, no matter what you're doing. And we're not being tackled or held or twisted by 300-pound dudes. You just sneeze if you have bad ribs.
Man. You can't breathe. Any movement, it's like somebody stabbing you with a knife. And, of course, you can try to pad it up as much as you want. And it can deaden it up. But you still got to take hits on that thing. And it can feel a whole lot worse before it feels a lot better, depending on the severity of it. The fact that we're sitting here Tuesday talking about Fletcher's good to go tells me his rib injury is not as severe as a Gainwell and possibly Blankenship. All right, so I asked somebody right now, say, hey, can you update me on Blankenship status? Not sure. We have a few guys messed up.
Ooh, messed up. Okay.
I don't know what that means, but.
All right. Yeah, that's not super promising when you hear the word messed up. I mean, look, if you're comparing it to what's going on with some other guys, excuse me, around the league, is it not as bad? Yeah, maybe collectively, but and look, nobody's crying anything for anybody other than the Jets, right? No. That's for sure. But we'll see where that ends up going there. All right, let's do some early birthdays because I have 3 Eagles things that I want to hit you with before we get out the door. All right, Gunner, here we go. All right, let's start with this one. When it comes to our birthdays, Paul Walker is a shame. He died in 2013 car accident and was so good in the Fast and the Furious series and whatnot. He's just one of those guys. You just feel like he was perfect for that part. They still do a great job with the movies. They did a great job honoring him, I think, with the first one after he passed. But that was a tough one for sure.
And here's another death that was caused by excessive speed. He was a passenger in a car that hit a tree in the Los Angeles area, and just like that, gone. And still relatively young guy.
He was 40.
40 years old. And was a media darling, so to speak. And it's a shame that we lost him. I enjoyed watching him as an actor.
He did. He was good. Emily Rossum, the actress, is 37 years old today.
Oh, strong?
Yes. Not super strong, but strong. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
All right.
The great Jesse Owens was born on this day in 1913. Derek, the combination of, I put it with like Jackie Robinson in terms of greatness athletically and courage to be able to do what he did under really difficult circumstances.
Wasn't it in Germany?
In Germany.
Yeah.
With Hitler sitting
right there.
His hands.
Yeah. The pressure he must have been under. But the fact that he rose to the equation, because, at that time, Hitler felt, as I'm sure the German mindset was, that the African-American athlete was inferior.
Correct.
And he went out there.
As human beings, inferior. But
and he went out there and shut up a whole lot of people.
Yeah.
But the pressure he had to be under and constantly having his head on the swivel because you never knew who was coming at him Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. Nothing short of incredible.
Yeah.
Yep,
Perseverance beyond reason.
Yep. The actress Sydney Sweeney is 26 years old. The composer Hans Zimmer, you see his name and attached to a lot of movies. He is 66.
Lion King, Dune.
Yeah. He's a big time composer. Yao Ming is 43 years old today. Is Yao Ming. Jennifer Hudson. You talk about crossover talent.
Woo!
My God, man. I mean, singing, acting.
Yes.
She could do it all. 42. Kelsia Ballerini, who is a country singer, country star. She is 30 years old. Barry White, one of the greatest voices in the history of anything right there. Yeah, there it is.
I'm not going, I can't sing like Barry.
You know who could pull off a Barry? I think Seth, maybe.
Seth could probably pull, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if Seth could sing, but voice-wise, Seth could pull off Barry.
Yeah, the pipes. He's got the pipes. Your favorite 2 Chainz is 46. Neil Peart, who was a great drummer for the band Rush, passed away last year. He was born in 1952. Actor Ben McKenzie is 45. George Jones, who was a country singer back in the day, 1931, he was born. Andrew Luck, Derek, he's one of those guys who, I'll give it to him. He walked away and he's gone. Like, he's out of the spotlight. Bye-bye. I'm going to go do my thing.
When you consider, this man had spleen injuries. It was like a walking car wreck. And he's only 34 now, but he made a lot of money in a short amount of time. But man, you talk about a dude that went through some stuff, man. Now I wonder, I wonder if he's still getting calls, and I wonder would he consider possibly coming back, or is he just, a lot of athletes, once they're gone a few years, it's like, no, my body's not. I'm not putting my body and mind through that again. But he's only 34.
He strikes me as not as a guy who would not come back. Like I think that he, he's a very bright guy. It's not like I think he was very smart with his money. I don't think so. I think he didn't want to be one of these guys who was decrepit at 45 years old. I really believe that. I don't think he comes back.
Yeah, the fact that he's been out of the limelight as long as he has, and when you think about the number of quarterbacks who have gone down over the years, and nobody's mentioned his name, it tells me he's basically told everybody, "Don't call me.
Yep,
not interested." Yeah.
He stayed true to his word. I'll give him that. Actor Joe Pantoliano is 72 years old today. Joey Pants, as they call him. Amy Yazbek, the actress, is 61. Rachel Ward, actress director, 66 today. Linda Gray, the actress, is 83 today. The Road Warrior, is 63 today.
Well, Animal is 63. But Animal is from Philly too.
I saw that. Yeah, I didn't know that. I did not know that.
His partner was a Hawk. I used to love watching the Road Warriors.
Yeah. Peter Scolari, who passed away a couple years back, was born on this day, 1955. Jennifer Nettles, the singer, is 49 today. Ben Folds, the singer, is 57. Marvis Frazier, who is Joe Frazier's son, is 63 today. Freddie Freeman is 34 years old today.
Wow.
Robert John Burke, who's very good actor, kind of a character guy, is 63. Kajana Carter, former first overall pick out of Penn State, is 50 years young today. What else do you have?
Former great pitcher Mickey Lolich is 83 today. The comedian Louis Kay is 56 on this day. Vernon Maxwell, former NBA player, 58 today. Let's see who else. Devin Duvernay, wide receiver for Baltimore, is 26.
Right.
Wilfred Benitez, one of the greatest boxers of all time. I loved watching him fight. Won his first world title at the age of 17.
Oh, he was big time, man.
Phenomenal. And he owned that division, like the lightweight and then light welterweight division. And then all of a sudden, along came names like Sugar Ray Leonard, Tommy Hearns, guys like that. He fought Duran. He beat Duran.
Yeah.
He lost to Leonard, and he lost a split decision, I believe it was, to Hearns. But he was a phenomenal boxer, man, up until his mid-20s.
I wonder if he fought in a different era, Derek, like later. he would probably be a much bigger name than he even is, because he was going against, like you said, some real big boys there, man.
Not only was he fast, but he was considered a great defensive fighter, and he was also fast as lightning with his hands. For once he moved up from the lightweight division to the welterweight, is where really he started to shine. And but he was smart. He can't believe he's 65 already.
Yeah, but Chuck's right. Alexis Arguello was nasty too.
Oh, geez, Arguello.
Those guys were both nasty. Yeah,
I loved watching Arguello fight. That whole era of boxing, man.
I love that time period.
From the welterweights to the heavyweights, that whole era was just. We'll never see that like in boxing again.
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think so.
Do you know the name Ian Holmes?
No.
Ian Holmes plays Bilbo Baggins on the Lord of the Rings. Did you watch Lord of the Rings?
I never saw Lord of the Rings.
None of them?
No. It's one of those I whiffed on, man, and I do have to go back. No, it's on me. It's a bad job by me.
Wait. You are a movie aficionado.
I know it's bad.
You know they made all of those back to back. It took like 6 years to make all three of those.
I know it's bad. Tone's like, what? I know. It's I listen, bad job out of me. I know.
I'm shocked. I thought it would be a given that you watched Lord of the Rings.
I blew it. I it's one of those, like, it got away from me, and then they started doing the sequel or whatever. The
Hobbit
prequels, I should say prequels.
All right,
and
so you have to watch the Lord of the Rings before you watch the Hobbit.
I think I will do. I'll get one of them in this weekend. I will have time on Saturday.
No, you won't.
I will on Saturday. I'm off.
Not gonna do it.
Not gonna do it.
Each one of them is 2 hours, but I tell you what, the storylines are incredible.
I'm in. I'm telling you, I'm in. Yeah. I will watch it. I will.
I'm shocked.
You don't believe me. All right.
I'm very disappointed in you, Robert.
You're not mad. You're disappointed.
Let's see who else do I have on this list. Ruben Studdard, the singer, is 45 on this day.
Okay.
And who am I missing here? Did I miss somebody on my list? That's it. I'm good.
Okay. Movie. Speaking of The Game, Michael Douglas, 1997. 2004, The Belonging. 2014, No Good Deed. And 2003, Cabin Fever. I didn't see a whole lot else. What else do you have?
That was it. Did you ever see Cabin Fever?
No, I never did see that one.
Try to watch that one. It's about this like a virus or a parasite that would get on these young people are camping in this cabin. And I don't know if I forgot what it was, in the water or something. And all of a sudden, this bacteria started eating their flesh away and all this kind of stuff. Man. You know, and I'm thinking, and they made a sequel to this thing too. And I'm like,
yeah, no, that stuff. Oof.
Oh, Rob Gamble says, you're right, Rob. Each one of Lord of the Rings is 3 hours, not 2 hours.
That's
hey,
all
I'm
right.
trying to get Rob to watch the movie.
No, listen, I will. Trust me. If I say I will, I'll watch it. I'm not saying I'm going to get both of them in, but I'll get to one of them.
Is that true, Rob? What Twiz says?
Rob,
is that true?
I've done that.
No, you haven't.
I've put Cheerios in like a sandwich bag, and I've eaten them as snacks at the movies. I've done that.
Wait a minute. I understand you eat Cheerios at home, dude, but you go to a movie to eat dry Cheerios?
Sometimes. Yeah. Everybody, I know everybody's skeeved. I know. I know.
There's a special place for people like you.
Yes, there is.
What the heck, dry Cheerios? No, like Swedish fish. No.
I will eat. I'm not saying I don't eat popcorn and Swedish fish. I used to like. Do they still sell dots at the movies?
Yes, I love dots.
Love the dots.
I buy them at the store. You get them at Walmart. You get them at Wawa's occasionally. I love dots.
I love dots.
You tell me.
I take Gunner. If I have to like get up really early and go drive somewhere, I'll put Cheerios in a sandwich bag and eat them as I'm driving.
Have you ever put Cheerios on a sandwich?
No, I've never done that. I mean, I'm whacked out. I'm not that bad.
Are you the kind of guy who crushes up Cheerios and sprinkles them on your popcorn and stuff?
No.
You sure?
No, okay. I'm sure about that. Yes.
All right. I'm just checking, man. Because
all right.
The longer I get to know you, the weirder you've gotten. So
yeah, I am weird. That's true. All right. Eagles question for you.
Yes.
The Patriots blitzed Jalen pretty heavy in that game. I wonder how much we're going to see Flores, who we talked about a little bit earlier, being a disciple of Belichick, is going to do it as well. And what I also am curious to see, Derek, is an underrated storyline from Sunday's game is Eagles' offensive line wasn't great.
No, it wasn't.
I want to see Lane get back to Lane form. I want to see your tackles were I want to see those two guys get back to the level we think they can play.
I agree, Rob. And if I'm Brian Flores, I'm putting heat on Hurts. I'm not going to let him stand back there. You got to put heat on Hurts, which means you're going to put your wide receivers on the island. We heard Adam Kaplan talk about how the Vikings secondary is not that great, but I've got to, with the risk, I'm hoping there's some type of reward. And with that risk, I've got to send extra tackers, blindside tackers at Jalen Hurts. Mm-hmm. I cannot let that man just stand back there and pick us apart, because it won't be a game. It won't be much of a game if I allow him to do that.
Yeah, listen, I hear you. And I think, again, I go back to week 1 last year, and I didn't think the offensive line looked particularly good. And they were able to get their act together.
Yep.
I think the other thing that we're going to watch out for, I believe they will try to establish Goddard, early and often in this game. I look for him to be a big part of this thing.
I would not be surprised if the first pass that takes flight is in the direction of Goddard, just to get him in the flow and to give the Vikings defense something to think about. You look at it on film and you're thinking, wow, they didn't go to Goddard. They didn't go to Goddard. Mm-hmm. And if I'm Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni and Brian Johnson, all right, first pass out in the flats to Dallas Goedert to get this thing going. Then you go into all these other options you have.
Yeah, I think the other thing that I would do, Derek, and I don't know if Gainwell's going to play or not. Whatever. I'm getting a nice little mix of Penny and Swift early too, to the Vikings.
Yes, I agree. You got
little thunder and lightning there, if you will.
I want to see what Penny can do behind this line, and I want to see Swift get more touches, even on outside runs. I want to see him get more touches, as well as swing passes, hitch passes, screen passes. I need to see more. You brought him in here for a reason. You got him at a bargain basement price. Utilize him now.
Get the dude in space. Let him create. I mean, that's what he does. That's what he does best. I think. Look, like we talk about, the players didn't play up to their capabilities. I don't think the coaches schemed it up or coached up to their capabilities too. And I think there's a lot of reflection that's going on collectively, with this team heading into the Vikings game. I truly believe that. I think you're going to see a much different approach here with these guys.
You better. It's the home opener. You hear the scuttlebutt about from the outside looking in. Hey, this didn't look like the Eagles team I thought it would look like. Mm-hmm. So there's a pride factor involved, and from within, as they look at the film and the coaches, point out things that we did not do and mistakes that we made, and where we could have really gouged an opponent. I guarantee they're going to be more focused, more meticulous, I hope.
Yeah.
This game coming up.
Yeah, and I think some of it is only natural when you don't play much in the preseason. Most teams are going through it now. Dallas and San Fran, a couple of the teams look like they hit it running, but for the most part, I guarantee you, if we really looked and dug in with other teams like we do with the Eagles, there you would see a lot of that kind of stuff. It's just the nature of the beast now with the way that the NFL is. So there are a couple things that I would be looking for going into this game. You go to the other side here. I don't know. I'd have to. Did you feel like Desai was aggressive, or was he? It didn't really strike you one way or the other.
I thought he was aggressive. I just thought they didn't get to Mac Jones enough, and that was because, and give credit where credit is due. Mac Jones was able to sidestep where the pressure was coming from,
right?
And at my time, looked down the field, made some big throws. But I thought he was aggressive enough, and obviously he ramped it up a little bit in the fourth quarter, when the Patriots were driving a couple of times for what could have been go-ahead scores.
Mm-hmm.
So I had no problem with his overall aggressiveness for a guy who basically said he's not going to blitz. He doesn't believe in blitzing much more than Gannon did. I believe I'm paraphrasing.
Yeah.
And so we're thinking, oh no, not again. But I thought he came after him enough for my satisfaction.
Yeah, I mean, look, he's a Fangio disciple. He is a believer in not giving up the big play. And the Eagles organizationally are of that belief. Here, the fundamental part of this thing is, Derek, if you believe that your defensive line can get home without help,
yes,
you're going to send your defensive line. And their defensive line got to the quarterback a lot last year without any kind of help. So, they're going to keep going down that road. You didn't pay this defensive line that kind of money or invest in high draft picks like that without believing in them. So I think that's a little bit. And then that doesn't mean you can't mix things in sometimes. You certainly can.
Well, see, I brought this up on our post-game show Sunday because I forgot who it was mentioned about Desai being a disciple of Vic Fangio. And I equated it to this. You can be a disciple of anybody you want to be, but trying to do it like they do is another task. I could be a disciple of a Seth Joyner trying to play linebacker, but I know I'm never going to play linebacker like Seth Joyner played.
Yeah.
Okay. So all of these guys who are so-called disciples of Vic Fangio, it's one thing to watch him do it. It's another thing to do it when you have it on your own. And, you know, I don't know if Desai is there yet.
Yeah.
I don't even know right now what it takes to get to that level. And nor do I know if he's comfortable with the personnel that he has to do what he wants to do.
That's a great point.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Think about it. He might not have the personnel to do what he wants to do.
No, I agree with you. All right, we're out of time, my friend.
Hey, man, take me off. I was on a roll, man.
We got to go. You can stay. You can keep going. There's no problem.
I'm done.
All right, we got to roll. But of course, as always, want to thank Tone DeShields. Tone, thank you, my man, for producing the program. Thanks to everybody in the chat, everybody streaming, everybody listening. You guys are the best. Don't go anywhere. We got 3 hours coming your way. The National Football Show coming your way with Dan Cilio. That is Derek Gunn. I'm Rob Ellis. Thanks for hanging, everybody. We'll see you same time tomorrow. Appreciate it.